Yes. My camera is like limited to what I can do with it.
Cockeyed.
So
Good morning, Jake.
good morning, Kurt, and hello to everybody out there watching Making Turbo Pit Fighter, the post-apocalyptic sci-fi comic that look like this. Um, we've been drawing and inking and lettering on Sundays, and here we are for another episode. Thank you to everybody for tuning in. If you're hearing the sound of my voice, I'm coming from yesterday's Comic Con in the city, in New York City. It was the fanfare for the High School of Art and Design, and I'm going to be going over the hall and showing Kurt what I grabbed, and then also some interesting people that I met. So we will talk about that right up front, I guess. But Kurt, how are you doing? And what kind of a week did you have?
Oh, it was a decent week. I actually slept in today, so I feel like I'm a little bit behind. But really, really going well. Um, yeah, I think at the end I'll be talking about two really cool things that are going on in the world of crime. But I'm super excited to hear about your, um, I guess, Comic Con show. Right? That's what it was. That So tell us where you were and what it was all about.
All right. Well, many times on this pod, I have mentioned the High School of Art and Design. It is the only public high school in the state of New York that has a career and technical program for comic books. It is called sequential art. I think it's called comics and sequential art. And if you get accepted, if you're lucky enough to get your high school kid accepted into the High School of Art and Design, then you have to get over this other hurdle of getting accepted into the cartooning program, which is the most oversubscribed program. There's three teachers there for the whole program, and they have High School of Art and Design has a wonderful fashion program, a wonderful architecture program. Illustration includes like high end painting, drawing, all this kind of stuff. Graphic design, digital design, film and video is another program. And these are not just like courses that you take in a high school. These are 3 year CTE certificates, meaning, you've really trained at a professional level for your, last 3 years in high school. So every year they have a Comic Con and they allow their seniors who are in the cartooning program. I believe, I think maybe it's cartooning and animation, but I'm not sure. Like if you're in the illustration program, if you're allowed to table there, but they're side by side with industry professionals, and it's a 2 day event. They have lots of different things going on besides just like sitting at tables. I didn't get any video because it's mostly high school kids, or it's a lot of high school kids. But the the preponderant, or the vast majority of students that were showing off their work, Kurt, were just showing off stickers and prints, and some of them, just these little things. They make characters. They send them off to a sticker company. They get them printed, then they sell them for like $3 or whatever. Maybe the bigger ones are $5. They sell prints. Some of them were sketches. There was a couple of cute kids that had like uh, knitted plushies that they made themselves.
Whoa.
Um, and they were. They're waiting all year long, so they're knitting these plushies all year long to sell. And I don't know how they do, but I'm over there looking for comics. I'm over there looking for people that do sequential art, talking to them. I spoke to a bunch of the pros that were there. I attended some of the panels. I went to the portfolio review. I met some cool people. Something else they have there is like they have a live drawing event with cosplay. So they had some pretty good cosplay, I gotta say. Like, I'm not into cosplay, but they put a lot into the costumes. It wasn't like just cop out crappy stuff where you paint your face or something. It was like really involved Transformers, and I saw Rorschach, and really like really well done, because the fashion department in the school has costumery and has
Oh yeah.
sewing and all that. So yeah, real interesting. And so there was one guy there selling dollar comics, and I don't know why there aren't more vendors, but I'm gonna go through the whole because it's just quick. I'll just do the covers, and then I'll talk about the comics that I picked up from the indie creators that were there, which was really interesting. And I also, when I was going to the portfolio review, I showed them this, which is the Pearl White Malady #1, all ready to go. And I'm getting more and more good feedback on this, so I gotta finish the scans and put this out. But as everyone knows, this is the comic project I have with my students. That's been going on for over 10 years, where I do the pencils, kids do the inks, colors, letters, and watercolor washes, you name it. We just kind of follow the style. So I have to finish this, and I have to print this up, man. I got to get through the scanning stage. All right. Here I got Justice Inc. #3, Jack Kirby. I buy anything with Jack Kirby. The only question is, do I have it already? I think I probably do have this already. So this is just a double, but for $1, I'm going to see which is the better condition one, keep the better condition one. This might be a better condition one, and then sell the other one for $1 next time I'm at a Comic-Con. So I'll be selling some of these cool dollar comics. Some of these I open up and I check out and I keep. Some of them I just turn around and sell for $1 or more. Here's Jonah Hex #2, 30 cents. This is probably like 1980 or something. This one is kind of like a creepy comic. The only reason I bought it is because it's Keen Spot, and I wanted to check out what they're up to. I'm just raising my thing a little bit. Because we had one guest that was publishing with Keen Spot, and so I wanted to learn more. Mike White of Girl and Robot, right?
Girl and Robot, yes sir.
All right, so I open this up, and what do I see inside? Pretty cool art. Now this looks like it's maybe 3D manipulated or 3D rendered. Wow. But it's still really good. Yeah. And
who's the artist? Oh, that's definitely 3D.
Let me get to that. Yeah. So it says written and illustrated by Mark Spears. But he doesn't, this is just photographic quality.
That's all 3D rendering. That's probably like with Daz Studio and Blender. I bet.
Yeah,
if you get on YouTube and you do a lookup for do a 3D Blender comics, oh boy, is that a rabbit hole to go down. So
yeah,
that is some fucking great shit.
Yeah, I wonder how much work it is to generate 3D Blender panels instead of
It's a lot. I gave it the old college effort about 7 years ago. As a matter of fact, I'm still working on I'm using the computer I had built just to get into 3D rendering. I had to tap out. It is over my head and what you have to do in order to.
Well, I'm not going to show the whole thing out of respect, but so here's a problem I have though. All right. So Mark Spears, you got a nice product here. This is called All That Remains. Oh, Mark Spears, he covered his masthead and his name, but it's All That Remains. I don't even know what it's called. Monsters. It's just this is called Monsters, and this is #8. Monsters #8. So he's doing this for Keen Spot, and I'm you got me on this effect. I like it. I can enjoy a comic made with this effect. The question I have is, why are there so many open spaces? And then when you have an open space like that, why don't you put the word balloons in these big open spaces?
And what is with people in open in word balloons? I see this a lot with people. Like it's
Right
almost
here.
like an opposing magnet to the space where they could just move it up or over like inch and then just make the tail a little bit longer or something.
Unless they're covering something on purpose, like right here. So you have this figure on the ground, and then there's some other figures here in between, and
Yeah,
then
get
this
it
guy.
off the damn figures.
Why don't you move this over here?
Yeah.
And why don't you move this just down a little so you can get that hand in? I don't get it.
I don't
I
either.
don't get it.
I see it a lot. I see it a lot with modern comics, and it just
I
bugs
mean,
the
they might
fuck
be
out of me.
covering something. Sometimes I use a word balloon to cover up a weak area, but I like this. You know, he puts this like green effect on there. I don't know if you can see it, but there is like this green effect on there. So I think he's trying to make it seem like it's painted and canvas and everything.
Oh yeah.
Um, it's good. It's really good. I'm glad I bought it. Um, and I'll see if I can maybe pick up another one in the future if they're affordable.
For a
Um,
dollar.
this I bought on a lark. Radio Shack, spring 1980. Electronics changed the world. It doesn't credit who the artist is, but um, I'm not sure if this is like even a comic book artist as opposed to just like some
Illustrator.
hired illustrator. This is the kind of stuff I lay in my classroom, and maybe I, have a kid who's not allowed to use the computers or something, and I have to give them something. Tell them to put 3 Post-its on 3 papers, and let's get 3 facts from this. Some stuff like that. Um, so the Chromium Man, Triumphant Comics, serial number 014012 out of 30,000. And then it says right here, John Riley's signature out of 30,000. It had a mark of $5 on it, but it was only selling for $1. So here's my question to John Riley: Why are you signing 30,000 copies?
Wait a second. How old is that book?
Let's see. Now I bought it
How do
because
you
I
know?
always
How do you know it's 30,000 copies?
look right here.
Oh
It's serial number. They took the time with one of those stamping
Stanford, yeah.
machines.
Who's the publisher?
Triumphant Comics.
Triumphant. What's the year? This is going to be the magic. This is going to be the magic right here.
1993.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Makes sense.
It's a cool style.
Yeah. It looks very like it almost like it holds up to like nowadays work. You know what I mean? Like you would see this style and approach nowadays. So quite a find, Jake.
Might have not been his idea to sign every issue. I don't know.
What artist wants to sit and work on stamping and signing something 30,000 times? Like that's an
he must have been
exceptional
in
human
hell.
being.
Now I don't know if he signed every copy. Maybe this note means
Just the stamping.
the stamping was 30,000.
Yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense.
It's a lot of comics.
And then if you bought the book from him and he was at the show, that kind of thing, he would have signed it. And like you said, it sold it. We had a cover price for $5, and now it's in a $1 bin.
Oh, and another thing, John Riley, who signs it, is not the artist. He's the writer. I don't know if that affects anybody.
He has plenty. He has plenty of writing time on his hand to sign 30.
I don't know what else he's written. I like the artist. The artist is Adam Paulina.
Yeah,
cover artist, penciler, and inker with a separate colorist, Garrett Burnett. Yeah, nice indie comic here. A little bit busy. It sounds like John Riley was larding the artist down with a lot to do here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 panels on a page. I bought it to see if Chromium Man had any chromium effects. But he's not. He looks like he's just colored gray, not even as shiny as the Silver Surfer. And so I think that Chromita is still reigns number one as the most shiny and reflective chromium comic in history. So we got to work on Chromita number one of these days. But that's the Chromium Man. This one I got. It was priced at $3, but it was only $1. Kyle Andrews. This is for Image, and I bought it because it was marked down, so I wanted to see, well, why was it so valuable in the first place? One thing is that it's a substantial comic. It's a lot more pages than usual. I'm estimating maybe like 40 pages. And here's the style. So Kyle Andrews, written, drawn, and owned by, and it's called The 1%. And here we get into some interesting Sin City kind of whites and blacks. The year here was 2016, so 10 years ago, and all these whites and blacks. And then you get to the regular section, and it's decent art. It's kind of like one of these guys. I don't call it cartoony. I call it abbreviated. Like the style is a little abbreviated.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about that a lot at the panels and everything, because sometimes there's an artist who can perfectly do rendered anatomy and everything, but they purposely start a project with an abbreviated style because it's a lot on the page and there's a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
So also, this is when they're using on purpose these kind of they're introducing on purpose these folded lines and this moire pattern, with this like halftone dot filter that adds it. Photoshop does it, but there was these third parties that also started selling this package, and I don't know if they're using it to the best effect. I don't know if I need these fold marks on the page, or especially if they're not real. But the artist is a good abbreviated style, kind of like a very heavy, thick black line that I wonder if they're separating the black plate and getting like the sharp, precise 400 DPI instead of 300 DPI lines. I really recommend that people scan at 400 DPI, separate the black plate, color on a separate plate. You get sharper sharps, especially those little pointy hair lines that Charles Burns is so famous for. All right, I bought this. Why did Jake buy Marvel's Black Widow #6, The Hunt for Apogee? Because this cover. How come we never see this on a cover?
Yeah. Wow.
So this is a real. So I buy these kind of things as a reminder to self. Why not try this out on a cover and just give a little sample of the action inside? Because sure enough, it's the same artist, right, and the same sequences, and it's good, and you're showing people what you can expect inside. We got the Black Widow, we got whatever the story is. She's on the hunt for somebody. The art's pretty decent. It's interrupted by ads every 3 pages, which I hate. But it's pretty professional, so I'll probably sell this again for $1. But I want to keep this. The art here is by Rafael de la Torre, and it's written by Kelly Thompson with a separate colorer. And this cover says Adam Hughes, cover artist, but this doesn't look like Adam Hughes. So I don't know what happened. Maybe there was an alternate cover, and when you look in the back, you don't get to see. I bought some Dynamite Comics, and Dynamite Comics gives you a full listing in the back of all the alternate covers and what the rarity is. But here in the back, we get a little bit of information about Kelly Thompson, who's the Black Widow writer, with a little Polaroid over here. Birthplace, Northern California. First Marvel story written, Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps, #1. So this is like Marvel just, reaching out, kind of cool that there's a female writer on Black Widow. I know they were doing that for a while. Moving along, I gotta see what's inside this. So this is a 25-cent comic, but you can tell by the graphics and this little box right here, Marvel Comics Group, that the only reason why it's 25 cents is because it's oversized. This really should be 15 cents if this was a standard size. So I'm gonna look inside and see. We got the Mighty Marvel Western number 14, featuring Rawhide Kid, Kid Colt, and Two Gun Kid. People are probably asking, what's the goddamn difference? um, Probably. Now some of these might be reprints, and some of these might be. So boom, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. This is put out in 1971, and it doesn't say that this is a reprint. So were Stan and Jack Lee, were Stan Lee and Jack Kirby in 1971 producing brand new Rawhide Kid when they had when they had hits on their hands with the Avengers and Thor and Fantastic Four? Or were these, oh man, look at this page is effed. Screw you. Or were these reprints? Hard to tell. Maybe I could look it up and see, but let's keep going. So now we have the Return of Outlaw, and this is the second story. I mean, I love getting Jack Kirby anything. I'll read this whole thing. This is Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Stan Lee wrote the story. Jack, they probably did it the Marvel method. So now we get to the second story, and it's not credited. It's good art. I wonder how old it is. It's only like a 4-pager. So maybe that was just a toss in. Here's Kid Cold Outlaw, and this looks older than 1971. So I'm thinking this is a reprint. Maybe they put some new stuff with some old stuff. Credited right here to Jack Keller, Kid Cold Outlaw. Was this new in 1971? And I could sit here and read these stories all the time. I love this stuff. That was a shorty. Let's see. That was only like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-pager. And then followed up by another Jack Keller 5-pager. So they were just taking like some Western material that they had possibly laying around. Anybody guess? That was only another 5-pager. Here's another one, Jack Keller 5-pager, Kid Colt. These might have just been anthologies that they just recolor. That's what I'm guessing. And then here we get to another Stan Lee and Jack Kirby with Dick Ayers inks. So Kirby didn't ink this, but I love this. Only a 5-pager. And then the cover, I thought this was Severin, John Severin, because the cover looks rushed. It looks like John Severin, not his best work, like not his most detailed work. Oh, look, I found the signature here. It's a very young Herb Trimpe.
Ooh.
Yeah. And he's got the guy laying down, and you don't see that from Trimpe too much. So he was probably channeling Gil Kane, who's got the best laying down people. But yeah, this story here is Severin. It doesn't say first name. When it's Severin, you got to say the first name because there's John and Marie. I guess this was when Marie wasn't credited with anything yet. But Marie was the first Marvel artist, female, and she took over on the Hulk pencils at some point, among other stuff. Yeah, so this is really just like a Mighty Marvel Western with all these artists in here. Very, very short stories. And then this one is Stan Lee and Severin, but it is much better work. Look how he draws here. And it looks like the Two Gun Kid is pulled into some kind of courtroom drama. Just what you didn't want. Yeah, I'm going to sit down and read this. I love this. Short and sweet stories. Here we go. The Human Torch and Doctor Strange. So it's a 25-cent Marvel, so I'm going to buy it. It's kind of beat up. That's why it's $1. it basically looks like a Defenders comic. You have Doctor Strange and Valkyrie, but the Human Torch is in there. So this was Marvel Team Up. This was written by Jerry Conway. And then here's what I do, Kurt. I open up the first page because if it's somebody Bushima, I want to have a slow reveal. All right. So we got Vince Coletta, the inks or finished art. And then there's definitely Bushima here. But then we open it up and it's Sal. Wah, wah. So Sal Buscema is a completely capable Marvel artist. This is all good stuff. There's enough backgrounds on here. The one thing that I never liked about Sal Buscema is right here. See this mouth? See the shape of this mouth?
You don't dig it?
That is a Sal Buscema joint right there. He makes the mouth always that shape, and I'll show you many other examples. Here, it's that shape. Here, it's that shape. Here, it's that shape. It might be wider. It might be more open. You know, whenever he draws Hulk and he's yelling at the top of his lungs, look, here, it's that shape. It's always this like parallelogram shape, and John Buscema doesn't do that. Here we're getting into some negative zone stuff. Doctor Strange is in the astral plane. It's a cool story. I mean, this is written by Jerry Conway, edited by Len Wein. So I love these old Marvels, and I can get into it, especially this one, because these Marvel team ups very often were self-contained, and the story resolves here right at the end, right? But look at the Sal Buscema mouth. Look, it's just getting ridiculous here. I'm going to show you real close. There's Doctor Strange with the parallelogram mouth. Then there's this guy. His name is Jeremiah, right? He's got the mouth. And then here it is again, a little more wide open. Same mouth here, same here, which is kind of small. So, come on, Sal. Anyway, I always kind of groaned when Sal Buscema was the inside artist, and I've come to appreciate him more than I used to. Kind of like Springsteen. I always hated Springsteen, but I like a couple of his songs now. But here the cover is by, looks like a Gil Kane cover. I don't know if it doesn't have an inker. Oh, yeah, this is Gil Kane with Al Milgrom inks, and beautiful primary colors on that. Here I bought Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle, number 26. It's 40 cents, so this is some point in the 80s. Sure enough, it is, oh no, 1979. But what did I get? Sal Buscema and Bob Hall inks. And what do you see right off the bat? You see the Sal Buscema mouth on top, parallelogram mouth. And yeah, Bob Hall as a name I don't know too much. So some of this inking looks a little clunky. Some of the backgrounds are not that developed. I wonder if Vince Coletta was adding backgrounds that weren't there in this other comic. But will I read this? Yes. Bill Mantlo wrote it, so I'm going to read that. All right. Here's Dynamite Comics. And Dynamite is a good example of a mid-sized indie publisher. I think this is the one that like has a store or a couple of stores, but they also do these licensing deals, and they also collect a lot of valuable comics and original art. They're definite players in the comic game, but they took over licensing for Vampirella, for a lot of other characters that we can see here in the back ads before we even look. So they're doing the Sacred Six with Christopher Priest. They're doing, oh, I don't see too many ads here, but Dynamite. They do a lot of these like public domain characters and a lot of licensed characters. This Vampirella was written by Christopher Priest, and the art is by Ergun Gundu. It looks like good art. It's a little bright. Some of these choices look weird. Some of these panels look a little sparse. But here we got some bloody, gory action, and it's kind of like mature vampire stuff. All right, we get our first ad here for Dynamite, and they have all kinds of Red Sonja comics coming out, including here. This looks like zombie Red Sonja. Her skin is decaying. They have
Yeah, yeah,
Red
yeah.
Sonja coming to the future. They have her teaming up with like public domain characters. They have her in the past. They have Red Sonja, the Red Witch. They have all these things. And here in this ad, they are advertising their 4 variant covers, 2 of which are by Peach Momoko, featuring Red Sonja and Vampirella. These are the hot new Dynamite artists, cover artists. One is by Arthur Sweetum, and the other one is by Stephen Mooney.
What's the year on that? I bet you that's like early. That's like 2010.
No, 2020,
Whoa, 20. Oof.
6 years ago. Yeah,
Oof.
so they've been at this for a while, and here's the interior art. It's kind of like cheesecakey, sexy, but it just lacks that kind of like Marvel thing. So if you end up working for Dynamite instead of Marvel, it's not a bad thing. I would put them on the par with like Image. It's definitely pro stuff, but it isn't like this kind of like expected house style. Like it might be a little more individualistic. Vampirella turns 50, a new hit series. They're going to be relaunching, so you can buy a new Vampirella #1. And I love this one. Look, and here's 4 variant covers.
Of course.
So they're really just in the variant cover business, I think. Here, I mean,
Oh
they
yeah.
they make some
Oh,
insides, and the insides are not bad, but they put this on 5 different comics. This one, this one, this one, this one, and then I'll show you in the back how ridiculous it is with the Virgin cover and the black and white cover and the pencil only. I mean, eesh. Faster Vampirella Kill Kill. Of course, this right here is a
oh, jeez.
inside reference to Russ Meyer, and it just shows the growing demand for exploitation comics to come out. Hint, hint. Uh, so yeah, we're finishing up this Vampirella comic written by Christopher Priest. It's got real bloody gore. You can see this axe going right through this lady. And that's the one thing that Vampirella will have. Here it's kind of icky with all these ants or roaches that are swarming this guy. That must have taken a long time to draw. And this bat creature next, Ashthorn. We got the letters page, and then here they're selling more Vampirella with classic covers by Jose Gonzalez. You can buy the art of Jose Gonzalez, $39.99. By the way, Jose Gonzalez is the guy that made this famous Vampirella cover right here, this pose. This will be immortalized forever.
Isn't that the original? Like the like basically established her costume, boots, and
No, Frazetta did I think a copy of Eerie or Vampirella #1 first, and then the character was built out of that. And there is a story about how her little bikini came to be because there was a cosplay model involved that they were drawing and probably hitting on. But Jose Gonzalez, uh, they're doing some compilations of him, and Dynamite's putting that out. The Art of Vampirella, 50th anniversary poster book. Yeah, why not just put out Vampirella covers and posters, right? Here you can buy her figures for $125. Arthur Adams bust of Vampirella. Vintage door poster, $35 to get this full size. And then here we get our cover gallery. Oh my God, it's 3 pages.
yeah, it's like a
So
catalog. I mean, but that was what Warren did. I mean, they're pretty much ripping off of how Warren was doing it. It's just
well, this is just the cover game. So they're just selling like exclusive rarity covers, exclusive retailer incentive covers.
yeah.
But here's cover A with art by Lucio Parillo. That was better than the cover I got, which is cover B by Levend Kanga. And I don't like this cover because of the holding line on it. To me, that looks kind of fake. The background's kind of nice, but and look at those, like those lips look like they're plastic surgery lips. They're like beading.
Candy wax lips.
Yes, exactly. There's also cover C by Faye Dalton, and then cover D by Orgon Gunduz, and cover F. No, yeah, cover C, D. They don't have E. They forgot E. Okay, they did A, B, C, D, F. Here's an incentive cover: Frank Miller homage variant by Stephen Mooney. That's a cool way to get Frank Miller's name in there. Here's a cosplay cover. Here is the black and white cover of cover A, the black and white cover of cover D. Here's the virgin cover. That means no masthead of the cosplay one. 30 copies only, 25 copies only. Here's the black and white inks of the one I got. 40 copies only. Here's 50 copies only of this one in black and white with no, like, a virgin black and white. So why are we going through all this? What is the value of one of those 30 copies right now? Is it appreciably more for some reason? Here's a bonus FOC. I'm not sure what that stands for, but bonus FOC, variant color. Why so many covers? Is this model working? I mean, it must be working because they're still doing it. But is it working for the aftermarket? 21 copies, bonus FOC, tinted virgin cover. Just every combination you can imagine. And then we see some artwork here. Unknown Comics retailer exclusive virgin color art by Chad Hardin. What does that mean? Unknown Comics?
What does that mean?
Oh, they are they're all right. So here we get to the exclusive covers for specific stores or chains. Like this one is Scorpion Comics retailer exclusive virgin cover. Then Sad Lemon Comics retailer exclusive. Only they got this. Comics Kingdom of Canada retail exclusive. They don't tell you how many were produced. They should tell you how many were produced, at least on the first printing. Anyway, so much fun with covers. I can't believe it. Moving right along, I bought this because of the cover, which I don't usually do, and I regret it because I opened up the insides and it's just a nowadays Fantastic Four comic with the Thing and Human Torch and everything. But this chick who is on the cover and is drawn so nicely does not appear anywhere inside the comic. I don't understand. I don't understand what we're doing here. But it's a new thing where you buy a Fantastic Four comic with something unrelated on the cover. Another thing about cover. Here, Kurt, at last we're getting to Gatchaman. So everybody should check out Chris Batista, who is the artist for Gatchaman. Gatchaman, people might know better as Battle of the Planets. And the fact that they are putting out nowadays comics in America is awesome. And I used to watch Battle of the Planets with Mark, Jason, I can't remember the other names. They introduced Seven Zark 7, before there was R2D2 or whatever, maybe. But this was a really cool series because you had these superhero looking guys, but they also flew in their own ships. This is what they used to look like, and they also flew in their own ships. And then sometimes the ships would all join together to make this giant Gundam shape. And this Chris Batista guy I heard him giving his spiel to somebody. He has worked for DC a lot, and he's also worked for Marvel from time to time. He said he worked for Image one time, and now he's settled in on this Gatchaman, and he feels really lucky and blessed. And he gave some panels to some young aspiring artists, talking about, like, you really have to commit. it's a lot of work. You might have deadlines, you might have overnights, where you have to really finish the job. I spoke to him and I asked him whose idea was it to make these colors so bright. And he says that he didn't like that. That was a decision after the artwork was all made. That maybe they're trying to get like a younger audience.
That's definitely.
So G1, the eagle, G2, the condor, G3, the swan, G5, the owl, and then G4, the swallow. Those are the 4 costumed characters of Gatchaman Force. They all wear a G on their belt. Excuse me. So I'm looking for the action, and so sure enough, here's some action. Here's some action. It's a lot of spaceships and stuff, and then here's some cool views. Where they're deployed. They're doing this formation where they spin around and then they become this like kind of machine. So there is a lot more action in the end than the beginning. And this guy's loving life. He is just so over the moon that he has this, and he is presenting all of his original art for sale. And his original art is very impressive, as you can see here, like very intricate, detailed, mechanical stuff. He's saying that this is his manga style, that he has other styles when he works for DC. But real nice guy to talk to, real interesting guy. He said he will do a show at some point if we can, chase him down and get him at the right time. Just got to give him a couple weeks advance notice, and we will have Chris Batista on at some point, maybe in the next year or two or whenever. And yeah, because we just forget. I do these things and I make these like connections, but then like sometimes we can forget to follow up. Oh, I remember this bad guy. Yeah. So really good stuff. And he didn't have number 1, 2, or 3, but he was selling number 4, and I think they had up to 12 that I saw. And he's been on this series for a long time. So this is what you want to see in the business, folks. A guy that is able to work full time. He's able to support himself. He does cons. I'm sure he's trying to sell some original art. I told him I was going to put him in touch with the folks at IC3 and Comic Art Live, and so he can maybe get at one of those pages and maybe get some customers and buyers, because this guy is really doing this at a high level. This is what you want to see, a guy that stays on a title for a long time.
Who's the publisher of that, Jake? I'm sorry, one more time.
Mad Cave publisher.
Mad Cave.
Yes, if you look up at the logo, you might have seen this around. Mad Cave.
No, first.
Yeah, I've seen them around, and and I want to find out more, because they're not. I don't think they're tiny. If they're doing like Japanese licensing, they can't be that small.
Well, my bigger question would be his royalties. I'm assuming he's kind of maybe locked into something where he's seeing after a year or so some checks for more printing issues and the question that connects to that question is, are they internationally being distributed? In other words, are they getting translated into German, Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese? You know what I mean? Like, and he's got something tied into that contractually, because that would be a deal better than just page rate, on a book. I lost your.
Yeah, so I don't know. Sorry, I had to cough for a minute. I'm not sure how Mad Cave structures it. I don't imagine they're going to give an artist royalties on IP that they're licensing in the first place. Although who knows, if it's a really good artist with a really good name and a really good following, it could be. Like, I'm sure Frank Miller gets back end on a lot of his deals. Like a name like that. But also the question, like, does Gatchaman come out in native Japanese You know, are they hiring an American guy to do, you know, all the worldwide Gatchaman comics nowadays? I mean, this project has been in the works for years. I saw this guy at a con. I spoke to him, Chris, like a year or two ago, and you know, he was doing the same project. Um, yeah, this trade sells for 17.99 US,
I'm sure you're
and
showing something
it
on.
has an ISBN. If you go to madcavestudios.com, you could find out a lot more about Mad Cave and what other things they do. That might be worth doing before we get off. So you know, and just what a beloved, you know, title. And you know, I'm not sure what kind of flexibility he has, but there is a writer here, Cullen Bunn. Um, there are different inkers here that work with him. It looks like he inks his own from issues 7 to 10. So this is I think this book is 6 to 10. I don't know. It doesn't say. Let's see. But yeah, this is Gatchaman 6 to 10. So they put out 1 to 5 as a trade. He didn't have that for sale. Must have been sold out, or he didn't have copies. And then here's 6 to 10, and then so you know he's putting out floppies all the time, and the guy has a full-time gig doing this. So he's getting his page rate. You know, he says he works like a dog. He makes, you know, he does conventions, and so he probably gets extra money selling original art. And he said that he was doing commissions there. I saw his sign. It was like $100 for a headshot commission. You know, and you know, he was just really actively busy doing all the panels and the portfolio review because he was an alum from High School of Art and Design. Here I bought
and he lived down the street.
Right. Here I saw Fantastic Four number 202, 35 cents, and I look inside. Lo and behold, John Buscema and Joe Sinnott are the penciler and inker. So I'm loving this, and I'm not seeing the Sal Buscema parallelogram mouth. Joe Sinnott was the inker for Kirby, and so now he's inking Buscema. So this is a classic Fantastic Four comic here with Iron Man and everything. So I'll check that out. I'm a sucker for the old Marvels, although I like 25 cents better. I'll take 35 cents. Here's a Barry Windsor Smith Rune comic from the Malibu Ultraverse. And the last time I got one of these, it was pretty nice inside. And I see it's double bagged. There's a bonus free trading card inside. I don't know if that's worth 2 cents, but I'll keep it with that. And then inside, yeah, you got Barry Windsor Smith. This is his good era still, with his great colors. I love these colors. He's doing everything here. It says colored by Keith Conroy, but my guess is that he's providing a color like guide because the colors are just so unique, and it's the same kind of colors you see on Machine Man and some of his other stuff. So yeah, this is cool, and it, you know, reminds me of continuity comics. The way they fill everything on the page, the way they go for like these weird shapes and panels. So I'm collecting Barry Windsor Smith for life. I'm sorry, no apologies for that. Is it Kazar or Kazar?
You say tomato, I say tomato.
So here's I've always called it Kazar personally, and here's Kazar number 1. Kazar the Savage, collector's item, premiere issue. I'm not sure.
Either
if
move your camera up, Jake, yeah, or drop the comment because you keep losing us up on the title part.
Yeah, I'm not. No, I'm trying to avoid this glare.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if. All right, so this is credited to Anderson, and this is a cool kind of inking style here. Is that Shauna of the Jungle or somebody? I don't know. Let's see. So we open the inside. This is number 1, mind you. So this is 1981, and it's a 50-cent comic in 1981. I don't get that. It doesn't seem particularly thick. Maybe it's a little thick. Shauna of the Jungle is here too. That's another Marvel character, and we don't get the credits here, so we're looking for we're on a search for the credits, and this is just like a blonde Tarzan. That's all Kazar ever
Sheena.
was. Yeah.
That's why she's yeah.
Um,
Sheena's actually when it comes to comic book heroines, she's one of the first. She had her
that's
own
right.
title. She had her own title from Friction House.
Yes, she is the first female comic book character credited of any renown and merit. Sheena of the Jungle, and because that goes back to 1930s.
Late
So
30s, yeah.
yeah, before there was Wonder Woman, there was a bunch of characters. Hawk Girl was before Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
and there was a couple of like characters that disappeared, that we never heard of. But Wonder Woman came out in 1940, and there were some female superheroes in 1939. But just talking female heroes that had their own comic, there was multiple, including some that Stan Lee wrote, like Miss Mask and Lady Luck, and stuff like that, like detective stuff. There was somebody who turned invisible. So she had powers, and it was all before Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman gets credited. I'm not seeing the artist anywhere on this page, anywhere on this comic. Where did I miss it here somewhere? And it's not. I don't want to guess. It's not Val Myrick. It's somebody. And if it's not on the first page, not on the last page, what do? You got to look it up. It's not a style I recognize. I mean, it kind of looks like Val Myrick, but not that much.
That's Kazar. That's Kazar #1, the giant issue or whatever.
1981. I don't think it's necessarily a giant issue. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pages. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 pages. 19, 20, 21.
You said 1979?
23. No, 81.
81. 1981.
23 pages. So not oversized, and it's 50 cents. Why is it 50 cents? And then you have this diamond here, which means this was what, comic store edition or military edition or something. You don't have the barcode, you have the Spidey logo. It's Anderson on the cover. I don't know a first name. And this could be worth more than $1. I have no idea. It looks interesting. I mean, Kazar, it's blonde Tarzan with a saber tooth. Nice sweeping landscapes. A really good study of the backgrounds, the trees and foreground, the branches. They have the obligatory sacrifice of the fire. Some nice shadowy stuff, but we got to look it up to see who's credited.
All right, you ready?
Yes.
Brent Anderson.
Brent
inked by Carlos Garzon. Scripted by Bruce Jones.
Oh, okay. Why aren't they credited in the comic?
Isn't that strange? Maybe
Yeah.
they just didn't have the
What's his name? Bruce Anderson?
Brent. B-R-E-N-T Anderson. Traditional.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kazar #1. There you have it, folks. And
yeah, Daryl Grant's given us major support in our follies here with Kazar.
What did you say?
Yeah, Brent Anderson. Yeah, Sheena knockoff. That's right. I mean, that was the thing.
All right, I only got 2 more here. I got Machine Man #2. This looks like a direct edition reprint. Machine Man 2020. and they had Barry Windsor Smith on the cover smashing Iron Man in the face. Um, and I'm hoping it's Barry Windsor Smith inside. Otherwise, I got rooked. Machine Man 2020 sounds like the future. They might have been, it depends when this came out. If this came out in like 2010, they're like, oh my God, that's the future. I can't seem to get this out of here. Here we go. Oh, I get you. All right. That's an interesting way to do it. The bottom was like slit open, but it was also folded over. All right. Um. Oh no, did I buy this one before? Barry Windsor Smith finishes in colors. I might have bought this before, thinking the exact same thing. But I think it had a different cover. Oh no, look at that. Really cool. So you got these cycles, which is an idea we're doing, but they don't have, but our sky cycles don't have big wheels like that. This looks like it might be a reprint. Let me see if it says Herb Trimp breakdowns. Barry Windsor Smith finishes and colors. So somehow he divided the work up with Herb Trimpy. And something seems really off about the colors here. I think this is a reprint because these dot patterns are picking up are really heavy. And I've seen this before. Yeah, this is a great comic. Look at this in the back, where Machine Man and Iron Man have this fight. This was this classic comic we've all seen. So I got an extra copy of it. I can sell, but this looks like somehow a reprinted copy. This is action, folks, right here. Machine Man punching Iron Man and vice versa. And then all of this nice colored instrumentation in the back.
Just that bottom panel alone, like how many times do you see that? Just like the size of it based on, what's that, like the fifth panel on that page?
Yep.
I'm not even sixth panel on. I'm looking at the attention, and he just, ever since Conan, and especially Red Nails, he did Conan's Red Nails. I mean, he just never ever looked back on like how quote unquote a comic book was supposed to be made and crafted. Every page he made like had value. Like, how could you not want that page? As original art and stuff. I mean, look, come on. It's ridiculous.
Really good. Some of these colors annoy me. But this is totally a reprint. It says right here, Marie Javins and Kevin Somers, reprint editors. And so they are the ones that are to blame for this. Like, it's not as bad on camera, but look at this. Let's put thin black and red
on gray
on a crazy gray background so that nobody could read anything. Machine Man 2020, and this came out in 1994, so 2020 was a world away, but it originally came out in floppies in 1988. So Machine Man floppies came out 88, and they're reprinting it in 94 here. And again, Herb Trimp breakdowns, Barry Windsor Smith finishes and colors. I wonder how that division of labor worked out.
I think I think Marvel went ahead and said, you know what, we're going to do this, because they probably they do own Machine Man, and then they gave Barry a chance, and he probably was like, you know what, might as well.
Yeah, well, Machine Man was a Jack Kirby joint, and Barry Windsor Smith reimagined it with Joe Costa and Iron Man, and it was a huge hit. I remember at the time it was like super detailed. It was just a smash hit, and so that's why a comic gets reprinted, because it sells copies for Marvel over and over and over. All right, this is gonna be the last thing I have here. I want everyone to pay attention to this comic company. See this right here? Yeah. Filbo Entertainment. Productions Inc. So I met Phil. His name is Phil Russert, right? Now talk about a jack of all trades. Phil is the artist and the let's see if he's the writer. All right. Written, created by Phil Russert. And then this has pencils and inks by somebody else, Ricardo Silver. But Phil was the publisher of Tragedy, and I bought number 1, but he had, I want to say, like number 2, number 3, number 4, all the way up to like number 7 or 8. And it's this character. She looks kind of ninja-ish. And she wears this like tragedy mask. So he has been putting this out, but along the way, he created his own distribution company.
What?
And he started telling me all of the partners that he has distribution with. So and he also said he would come on and do the show and talk about his model, because he's a publisher, Philbo Entertainment Productions. They have Tragedy Comics. He showed me 4 other titles besides Tragedy, but Tragedy appears to be his flagship. And then he had all these other books there, and he's getting distribution through all of these channels. I couldn't even remember. I begin to remember, the many outlets that he's partnering with. But he is somebody that we want to talk to, and we are supposed to. And I have his. I took a photo of his contact info and his barcode and everything, so that we can follow up, because he's got a lot going on. He's got comics, he's got original art, he's got trade paperbacks, and he's got distribution, a lot of valuable distribution information. And the way he was telling me is that I was like, did you ever hear of Power Pulp? And he goes, Power Pulp, I wish those guys all the luck in the world, because they're trying to prove something right now,
Yep.
And he says, it helps all of us when we have all of our networks, and we're all like, like I say to him, like, have you heard of Floating World? And, have you heard of like Cosmic Line? Have you heard of these other things? And, maybe what you guys want to do is, you guys can trade. I'll take a few of those. You take a few of these, stuff like that. He goes, absolutely. We do that all the time. He does that all the time. Sometimes there's somebody that's a little more regional. There's also people doing local printing, right? Like they literally just sending PDFs back and forth, and they're doing local printing. So there's a lot going on with this that we need to find out more about. And so I got Tragedy number 1.
And he went to this high school. He was a graduate of this high school.
I don't know if he would. No, I don't know if he was one of those. I forgot to ask if he went to art and design, but yeah, we gotta catch up with Phil Russert of Philbo Entertainment Productions at some point. So, note to self:
send me his info.
What's that?
Send me his info. You said you had his info.
I'm going to send you his info as soon as we get off. Okay. I have it's on my phone.
Okay.
So a couple other people I ran into there. There's this group out of Queens. I met this guy. His name was Will. Very cool guy, and I spoke to him at length. He runs a once a week life drawing in Queens.
Nice.
It's clothed, but it's the life drawing once a week, and I think it's like $10 to get in or something. They might hear they have sliding scales, so pay what you can, 10 to 20. And they do that every week. I think I'm gonna try to get out there one day this summer and do the life drawing thing. And he says, I say, well, when I do life drawing, I imagine it as a character. And he goes, oh, absolutely. We dress up as cosplay. They dress up as stuff. And then they hold the pose for a long time, so you can do a nice piece. So it's 6:30 on the first and third Wednesday of every month. It is in Industry City in Queens, which is Sunnyside, Queens. And so this is twice a month, the Zine Club, and they're all doing zines over there. So I gotta go check that out some night. and check it out from 6:30 to 8:30. And then the life drawing is weekly that they have. So it's Lista Studios in Industry City, Zine Club, and life drawing. And that was another contact I made yesterday. And the guy that I was talking to, Will, he knew his comics, man. We were talking about like real technical stuff. We really got into it, and he was digging the turbo, and he was digging the Pearl White Malady. So that is my report, Kurt. My Comic Con haul from Fanfare, Fanfaire. It's going on also today. One thing they had, which was kind of ridiculous, was they have these panels of like alumni who went to the school, and remember, they have alumni who are still around from the 40s, the 50s. Carmine Infantino went there like in the 40s, and then John Romita went there, Neil Adams went there, Ralph Bakshi went there. There was all these ages. Then years later, Mark Teixeira. I mean, there's still people there. Amy Reeder was just there, and she's a current, professional, Marvel and DC professional. All Chris Batista, all these kind of generations and generations. So they have these like panels where they were, they're just kind of like saying how lucky they were to go there and how you get this real professional training, and everybody in the audience, are these high school kids, and sometimes they're there with their parents. And the thing that I said it was ridiculous. The reason it's ridiculous is because of course everybody wants to go there. Like, who is making up their mind if you're a high school student in New York City whether or not you're going to apply to High School of Art and Design? I mean, maybe the only question is, do I list them number 2 behind LaGuardia? But like at some point, it's like, why are we even asking these questions when it's such a great school? I mean, to me, the only question is, why aren't there more schools like that to serve, the 800,000 kids in New York City?
It's got to serve the industry first.
Well, the program does serve the industry, but obviously not every kid is going to go into the industry. If their if their program has, let's say, 100 students, not all 100 of them are going to be, full-time professionals. I mean, I even spoke to some kids that they want to go to RISD, they want to go to Savannah, they want to go to college, but they say, but I don't want to do comics as my main thing. I want to do it and just have fun doing it in life and do something else, and that's very interesting to hear. It sounds very healthy, to hear stuff like that.
Well, you're not hearing anywhere where somebody is making a good living. You don't hear that in any.
Well, those are the guys up on the panel. That's Chris Batista. I mean, they had
I'm
they had
talking
guys.
like I'm just talking like in the way of like society and in the overall sense. I mean, when you say this guy's working full time, making a living on Gotchaman Battle of the Planets, I have a dozen questions of what that entitles, making a living. I mean, I did see his profile here online. He looks relatively young, maybe early 30s. Does he have a kid? Does he have a mortgage? Does he, you know what I mean? Like, and even beyond that, like literally what I was saying way earlier was, is he getting a cut off of his work being pushed to trade paperback if there is international translation and sales? That's how Ed Piskor made his living. He said it multiple times. If you listened, he wasn't making money off of making a comic book per se and selling it in America through distribution channel. That wasn't it. He was in international sales. He was being translated in French, German, He had quote unquote floppy books that were then put into um, trades. I mean, the hip hop history one. I think that saw like 5 different versions, like packaging versions and stuff, all the way up to right there that year that he passed away and everything. But when we think about making a move into the arts, you still just have to think of it as like, okay, it's a job. It will be a job. It'll come with all the things that any job would have. But then you also have to calibrate it to what's the compensation package, to what is my lifestyle. Like it's just a very. I remember by the time I was leaving college, I had 3 professionals that I had decent connections with. One was my mentor all through college, but another one was a friend's mother who was an illustrator, and another one was an illustrator. And both of them pulled me aside when I was talking about this and that when I was going to graduate. And all 3 of them said the same thing. Kurt, if you want to have children, don't pursue this. Just don't pursue it. And I was just like, what? You know what I mean? And it was a very good piece of advice, because I have been able to navigate a very, very creative life. But if you have responsibilities, that are far reaching than living off of a page rate, or some hand to mouth work, freelance work. Yeah, I like I said, going back to you don't hear anybody talking about somebody or somebody's out there that's making a really decent living at being creative. We don't have that in society.
Yeah, so it's a great point. The professionals that were up on the stage talking about how valuable their high school years were at High School of Art and Design. It's a very specialized school, and if in New York City, where they're allowed to cherry pick the best um, artists from the 5 boroughs, and then they have these great programs where you have the best teachers. The teachers are also cherry picked, and the students are also cherry picked. So you have this environment where like there's just so much great, you know, professional level teaching and learning going on, and and it shows when they have the Spring Art Festival, when they have this Comic-Con. But a lot of the guys that were up there, some were in their 50s, some were in their 60s, some might have even been in their 70s. Some of them were saying, yes, I worked for an ad agency all these years.
Yeah,
I did freelance. Some of them went into animation.
I
Uh,
married a dentist.
well, one guy, I think his name was Joe
A
D'Esposito.
Kennedy.
I married a Kennedy. Well, yeah. Um, the one guy who was up there, I think he said his name was Joe D'Esposito. I'm gonna look that up.
Oh wow.
He said that he got to intern for Neil Adams, and that he learned a lot, and then he goes on to his own career. And let's see, Joe Esposito, graphic novelist, storyboard artist, and painter. And let's see what has he done. Yeah, this is the guy. So he is an art and design alum. And I'm just looking for what kind of projects he's put out. Does he have a website? Joe Esposito Storyboards.com.
I've seen him.
Um,
I think he has a YouTube channel.
maybe. Yeah. I mean, these guys are like seasoned pros, and they talk a lot about the compromises that you have to make working for companies, and doing you know, doing existing titles, and deadlines. I mean, the storyboard guys, they probably worked on a ton of shows that we've heard of, right? And it's good work. It's paying work. Since we last spoke, Kurt, there was a bloodletting at Marvel.
Yeah.
1,000 spots were laid off, and
Yep.
a lot of people are saying that they really believe this is the AI purge, that people have been waiting for, people have been dreading. Joey Esposito worked on the Pedestrian, coming in August 2024 from Magma Comics. He worked on DC, Harley Quinn, King Shark, um, Aquaman, Black Manta. Yeah, so the guy's a real pro. I mean, if you intern under Neil Adams, you probably have some connections. Um, and they were saying it's not as easy as it sounds. There's going to be many sleepless nights. There's going to be feast and famine when it comes to
Mm-hmm.
getting work. There might be like insecurity as far as paying your own health care and stuff like that. So there are trade-offs. There's very, very, very important trade-offs. And what Kurt is saying is my life story. When I found out that my wife was pregnant in the year 2000, um, I stopped freelancing. I was doing flash animation for a living, believe it or not, and I was kind of supplementing that with some graphic design work that I was doing for a regular client for about maybe like about 2 months out of the year, but that was paying a lot of my bills, and that freed me up to pursue the animation stuff I was doing at the time. Well, once we found out we were pregnant, we were like, all right, and I asked the company that I was doing the freelance, can I come on full time and make this a little bit more stable, and they were like, yeah. So I worked with them for like, I don't know, like another 4 years, until I became a teacher. And talk about stable. That's like paycheck, pension, all that. And in exchange, I just have to babysit unruly kids for 20 years. but um, but I always point out that's not even 1% of the kids, or maybe like 99% of the kids are doing what you
Man, you're
ask.
having a good time.
They
You're having
graduate
a
and
good
they learn and everything. But there's these special need kids that
Sure.
monopolize a lot of a teacher's time. So as the art teacher, I really try to help them, and I try to use art and music and all kinds of other things. But whatever you choose, um, if you have kids, yeah, you got to really worry about the future. And my wife was a teacher too, so we were able to kind of like coordinate holidays and you know raise our kids. Now my kids are adults, and now one of my daughters is a teacher herself. So we were doing this with a plan, and you got to have some kind of plan, and I had to forego all of my I was making some connections in Hollywood. I was making some connections in business. I was working for national magazines that everybody's heard of, and I was working at very, very creative stuff. But looking back, that was the internet bubble, and that was not
Yeah.
going to last forever. And so
Yeah.
you have to do what's right. And I hate being preachy, because a lot of these guys yesterday were preachy, and everybody has to find their own way.
Yep.
All the stuff that they were talking about yesterday, it's all different now. We
Yeah.
were dealing with the digital revolution, but now we're dealing with the AI revolution. So there's so many things that are different now. And when you hear that, well, Disney is reducing their workforce, possibly permanently, it just you're not going to be able to sustain the same number of professionals that are working for Disney, whether it's Marvel or
You know,
or
there's
or Star
another
Wars.
there's another way of looking at it, and I see these stories occasionally on YouTube, and they are worth watching. Is where somebody is such a fan of something that they end up putting every amount of energy that they can muster in the time allowed and however their life is unfolding, to end up being using the internet, and definitely forums and groups and stuff to that extent, becoming so recognizable within, let's say fan art niche of Star Wars or Superman or Bugs Bunny or so whatever it is, that they ultimately end up getting picked up by Disney. And I would even assume at some points they would be able to write their own ticket. And it's I think it's a I'm super excited what's going on right now with everything, because it's such a um, uh, everybody's trying to pick up the cards. You know what I mean? Like we're in a position now in the world where it's very much like a free for all. There's no guidelines and rules and stuff are getting challenged and pushed away, which yes, on global scales and corporate scales and all these educational scales and stuff, I totally agree that this is of high concern. But for the individual having a dream and a passion to want to pursue something, you're not in the next year or two going to get another better place to jump in and make happen. Because at the same time that Jake was talking about where he was doing the animation, we started together and learned together and collaborated. But I actually ended up getting purchased my animation stuff for Flash and websites got noticed by basically the biggest web design firm in Delaware, and they bought me out, and then put me as the art director, and then allowed me for 1 year to keep doing what I was doing, which was I had a cousin who was in a comedy troupe in LA. I forget what it was. It was a pretty famous one, who was having talks with HBO and MTV, where he was writing and doing the voices for these cartoons, and I was animating them. Now, of course, I was animating them through this company, but two things happened at the end of that year, which then I left the company to go back to freelancing, which was Flash animation was falling out because Flash, as a program, and was purchased by this time by Adobe.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is the company I was working for were trying to create these ridiculous terms with MTV and HBO, like they were somebody. And I kept begging them, like, let's just get our foot in the goddamn door. And they fucked it up.
Okay, Delaware guys,
they just fucked it up. I mean, the contract came through, they rejected it immediately. And I was like, are you crazy? Like, I don't understand. Like, let's keep it small. Let's just get this first set of episodes, to air. It gives us a nah, man, we could get more money out of them. I remember one of the bosses saying that. I said, you are twisted. They're not. Oh, they'll negotiate with us. They always negotiate with us. Never even fucking returned a phone call. That guy called for months on end. The number ended up getting disconnected. So, when you talk about like, somebody's world and the things to expect and stuff, I remember, I'll never forget, Jake, you were harping on me to kind of do something similar in getting the education, going down an education path. And I also had somebody else that was actually giving me the access to do it. She was already in the program at a local university. And then when I told you the deal I had cut with this company, I remember you saying, dude, that's not going to work out. And I was like, what? And, he's like, it's really tough. You said it very clearly. It's really tough to get other people to, align with you, to kind of work with you, especially when they're on, they're flipping the bill, blah, 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 blah. So, it's the one thing I can say, though, my life has been nothing but excitement.
Yeah, well, you made a lot of choices, and we've always been in touch, even though there was a long gap where we didn't hang out for like 15, 20 years.
Yeah, but we had Facebook was the first thing where we connected and we were jabbing, and then Instagram was the next place.
Yeah, I mean,
when you called me, it was like I had talked to you on Tuesday the week before.
Yep. and we we started to act like, it took a while for my kids to get bigger and more independent,
Sure.
where I wasn't, I didn't have these, like, every Sunday now I can do this, right?
Yep.
um so yeah, so that was the big difference. I don't spend time with my kids anymore. but I spend time with Kurt instead. So um
another childlike mind.
but yeah, no, I'm really excited to get back to what we were doing, because the world of creativity, it's unlimited, and if you don't have this, you know, like the guy I spoke to, the Philbo guy, right? And I kept asking him, how is it that you're able to put out basically two floppies a year and also run this distribution company? Because he was very active. You know what he told me with his distribution company? He told me, I'll show you again, this guy. He told me he has a gigantic large format printer in his studio.
Are you
He's got
kidding?
like a little
Are
like a
you
little
kidding?
warehouse space.
Are
What's
you
that?
kidding? Are you kidding me? Like one that you would pay, you would rent.
The guy's printing his own stuff,
Oh my,
like Alex Turbin.
oh my God. Yeah,
And
we definitely have to get him on.
so, and so that's why I have the feeling he doesn't live in New York. New York City. Maybe. Oh no. You know what? He did tell me he's up in Long Island. He's out in Long Island.
No.
So maybe he's got like a little garage outside, or maybe he rents like a warehouse, or it's a share or whatever. But however he does it. So I asked him, because I see, when I see somebody at a table and I say, all right, he's got 2, 3 comics out, and maybe he's got a trade out, or and then he's got some other stuff, and he's got some original art. No, this guy had like 10 comics out, and then if you count other titles, he probably had like 15 out. And then he's got all this other stuff that he's distributing with Philbo distribution, right? So I asked him, how do you do it? Are you full time? And he goes, no,
Oh
I'm a
my.
registered nurse.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh my God.
Bless
So
his heart.
I say to the guy, and he tells me that, he is one of these people that, he gets up real early, goes to sleep real late. He's one of these people that, is really, really efficient, and he doesn't need much sleep. And I said, like, yeah, man, I used to be like that. but, but, yeah, so this guy seems like like an Energizer bunny, and we definitely have to catch up with Phil. And we'll see if we can get him on the show, and we'll see if we
Yeah.
can steal some of his secrets. But
If he has
you know,
time to, I mean, geez.
no, it's a really cool guy to talk to. Really cool guy to talk to. I'm not seeing that I have my text. I want to do an inside front cover page here.
Now you have, excuse me. All right, before you jump ship from one to the next, you have completed lettering for all of our interior stories.
Yep.
So you have to send me the
Not
turbo
including
pages. Huh?
what's that?
I need the
Not
turbo
including
pages.
Yeah, there's 6 turbo pages are done, not including revisions. I
Okay.
imagine that we have to do a round of revisions. That would be normal.
Yeah.
But yes, I have those, so I can actually put those on this little keychain drive. What remains of this now? Look at this. The cover fell off or something. But I can put this on a drive. I can bring it over to the other computer. I can send it to Kurt. The last. Actually, I think I have this on the drive already. But I can't do it unless I
No,
sacrifice
it's
my
not. It doesn't have to happen. It doesn't have to happen right now. I'm just saying if we're crossing that bridge where you're now heading into the last bit of stuff, which is our whoop, what's going on? He kicked himself out. Yeah, he kicked himself out. That's all right. He'll be back. Don't you worry, everybody. Um, so I was saying last week, but I did not get to it. I have 2 pages that I'm going to be cutting out masks which I've done here, and then I will be spraying them with black spray paint. And I think the other one's going to be white spray paint. So this is going to be kind of fun to show. Here comes Jake. So just an explanation on why we have this green paper that I cut out these pieces on there. Coming soon.
Yeah, so what I just did, the reason why I dropped is because I unplugged my microphone.
Yeah.
So that I could plug a USB in, and I need to not only transfer the finished lettered pages over, or the last one, but I also have to get the text for I was kidnapped and I was rescued by the casualties, because I'm literally going to be laying out the inside front cover of this session.
Okay.
So what I'm doing right now, and you can go back to talking, is I am bringing over the printable pages, and so I can send them to you to look at. And I did give out your info yesterday for Crom the Barbarian to somebody.
Thank you.
So that Will guy. I just love the model so much. Where you're working with all these independent artists, and they're all just contributing to this one, themed project, and then you can just put them in the latest installment.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, this coming Thursday is the deadline for the anthology number 2 is what I had originally from, but I am already at 262 pages. Well, turned in, is that's what's happening right now. And of course, there's people who, they're asking for a little bit more time, which of course that can happen. I just want to say to anybody out there that is A, already working with me on Crom, or B, on the fence about working with me on Crom, the number one thing that is growing and thriving is the community. It's the group of us. The amount of communication I'm getting forthright with people, the amount of commitment I'm getting, the amount of ideas and creativity that is being shared, the people working with each other, the collaborations. I am just literally overwhelmed to the point of really having some moments in the last week or so where I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to tweak this whole Crom anthology to really benefit the community. Because in all sincerity, I started it all for me. It was like, I'm going to make all these Crom stories and Crom adjacent stuff. Why not include people? Well, now it's kind of flipped. Now it's sort of like, I have all of these amazing creative people that are committed to their craft, and so some with Crom and Crom material. But man, I got to figure out how to create a better support system for them in remapping my own thing. So I'm really excited. Next week, not this week coming, but the one after, I will be divulging some of these refinements in Crom anthology coming forward. So I'll be sharing even on here. But to just say, as I said earlier, 2 things that I just wanted to get everybody privy on. Blood Maidens number 2 is out, and it's headed by Jamie Barrows, who's been an amazing inspiration and motivation for how he project manages the Crom universe that he has going, which is the Brutal Blade of Crom. I have the cover and 14 pages of a story I did in 2014, excuse me. So it's called Wench. It's pretty fun. It's 14. These are available not only from me on cromthebarbarian.com, but also from Jamie Barrows through his Mixum account. But I have finally accomplished what I have been working at for months now, which is the reformatting of Crom Anthology number 1, which is now officially on cromthebarbarian.com. I mean, on Amazon, excuse me, Amazon. So there's a ebook version and a printed version of Crime Anthology, which on Amazon, which is amazing because of the shipping alone. So if you're anywhere in the world and you have access to Amazon and the print on demand, and you have a Prime account, you're going to get it free within a couple of days. It's just really, really a great feeling. And I have learned a lot in the process of having the ability to distribute one of the channels of distribution for, comic book work, having it on Amazon. If you go to cromthebarbarian.com, the first menu button is Amazon, and that'll take you to the 4 titles that you can go through there. You can also get them through me, which I still use. Lulu as a print on demand, drop shipping. And there's also other books, as I just showed with Blood Maidens. But yeah, I thank you for saying that, Jay, because I am super excited. And I think we talked about this a little bit off camera last week, which I don't have any problem saying, bringing out in conversation here, which I think we have before. But to be honest, it's also a preparation for having you freer in your retirement. Once you have committed to completing your tenure as an educator, and you come into this, a lot of this stuff is going to be already laid out for us, and be able to work, because for me, in all honesty, you are so committed to the things that I really don't want to be committed to or am just not confident enough to do.
Writing tons of scripts and
well, the one thing I said, I think that is completely not being utilized yet is your art direction. And that is something that I personally want to make happen, because I think that is a huge loophole in a sense in indie comics, which is like, well, I don't need a fucking editor. I just got to put this book together and get it out there on the shelves. Where I live that world, but I am also starting to find it be a little restrictive. And obviously having you review comics that you're buying, and us having the ability to have conversations through our indie creator. But even when you're going through our work, my page is being quote unquote completed, and there's the lettering, and then you're going through there, you're making comments, and those comments I think are very important for me, to be able to accomplish a better and tighter, or more efficient, book art.
Yeah. Right. I mean, we make a lot of decisions together, but that's why sometimes what I do is write questions that we're going to discuss.
Right.
And and a couple of times, like, I did force the issue, and because I was like 50-50 on something in my planning and plotting and scripting and everything. And so I would just say, oh, all right, well, this is a question for Kurt now. And he might not have an answer, but he can bring the conversation into a direction. And then, usually, like, you say a couple things, and I go, aha, I know what I'm going to do now. So we have that great working relationship. It's really interesting to see how pairs of creators work together. You see that a lot during cons where there's collaborators. Sometimes they're sitting right next to each other, and sometimes we've had them on the air on our indie creator exchange, where we've had 2 guys on, a writer and an artist, and they talk about the rapport that they have. So these flat turbo pages are 20 megs a piece, so I don't think I can just email them all. I'll have to post them on my
Sure you flattened them?
Yeah. I don't know. They're JPEGs with no compression.
Wow. Okay.
But it's okay. I have my FTP space, and I'm
okay.
updating this right now. I got the turbo pages, and they were already online with text as, let's see, as Photoshop. And I'm going to now put them online, just the flat ones. And these
Don't
might be,
upload them now. It's gonna
what's that?
kill your. It's gonna don't upload them now. It's gonna kill your internet.
No, I just set it up for after.
Okay, good.
But what I need to, but I put them on my MacBook here. What I need to bring over here is I need to bring the text called I was saved by the casualties. And we're going to see how much of that we can fit into the zine page and what other pictures we have, because I have pictures of Charvel, who is the character who wrote all this. Um, I have, let's see, the Ken casualty. So I guess I have to get this off the web. I need the raw text from the Substack or the Hellclaw.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll see what we have in terms of Charvel. Now, when Charvel grows up, she's going to be enhanced by Elevena and become one of the rectifiers, which is kind of superhero-ish or sci-fi-ish. Um, but here she's only just a teenager, and she's going to be rescued by the casualties. So I did write something in her voice. I have the text here open, and now I'm just saving it. Yeah, so we're going to really have to condense this. And maybe this is even a job for AI, but I'm going to condense this. So I'm going to bring this all and save this all on my jump drive. Now I need to find pictures of Charvel, and I know I have some here. Let me see if there's any on this computer, because I grayscaled one. I don't know how I have the time, but on one episode I was sitting there grayscaling this Charvel picture I made, where she's trapped in the, yeah, here it is, Charvel high res bathroom right here. Let's take a look at it. This is probably going to open up in preview. Yep. So I just need to put the word balloon over this handwritten stuff. So this is here ready to go. And where is this located? It's in MAGS art. So let's go get MAGS art out of the art folder and into the MAGS 1 folder. Oh, here's a whole bunch of scans. Okay. We have the Duke scan, we have the Charvel scan, we have Duke with a gun, and I have the text for Charvel already on this computer. Come to find. Then we have Hellclaw. We have a lot of stuff here. So let's move this over. The Marauders, the Casualties script is here. What else? Yeah, and then I kind of run out of stuff. So I have all these scans I did.
Hey Jake, can you get a little square on your laptop?
Let me see. I don't see the camera. Okay, right over. I can bring this down a little bit. I had it up because I was looking at comics. Bring it down a little piece and then tilt up at the screen.
Perfect.
And now we're working over here. All right, so if Quark lets me open, yes. No, it's not. I've crashed out. So I have to force quit. I still haven't figured out what that bug is. It started.
It's the Y2K bug, bro. That's the way.
Well, I imagine it was a font because I loaded these fonts, and then all of a sudden, Quark does not allow you to toggle through applications without locking up. Learned that the hard way. So now I tried uninstalling the fonts, but it's still happening. So for now, I'm just going to open Quark and then not go to any other programs. I'm going to use Quark in kiosk mode and make sure I hit save before I get out of that. But I'll see if there's any other fonts in here that could be causing that. And we also have this thing we used to do called trashing the preferences. Remember that?
Barely.
No. Well, you're a PC guy. You're not a Mac guy.
Yeah, but oh yeah, well if that's a Mac thing, then yeah, I don't think I did that, but
Yep, it just happened again because I clicked on a window, so I got to learn the hard way not to do that. Force quit, or it's not responding. Um, yeah, if I look at my font library, um, maybe I can find something that's still in there. They have the font book. So open up the font book. Right, and here is my look at this great thing I made, but it's like I have to uninstall it.
yeah, you might have to actually delete it.
Yeah. What do we call this? We call this do mags, new font, right? So uninstall, disable, remove Doom's new font palette. All right, this might do the trick. I mean, I was using it in Quark. That was amazing, but it doesn't let me go. And then here's Doom comic. This was another one I had.
Oh
This was
yeah,
the
yeah,
first go around.
yeah.
This I don't think was a problem, but I think that might do it. So let's quit and now cross our fingers when we open up this. I don't need this. Open and preview. And now I'm going to go into kiosk mode. So yeah, let's talk for a second about Comic Art Live, virtual art. What is it? Virtual
Comic Art
original.
Live. Yeah, it's an online um, comic book show.
And
Comic
right,
Art Fans is hosting it. They have been hosting it. Because we're a part of the IC3 Indie Comic Creator show. They give us access to this place where you get to build a gallery, and then just like a regular comic book show, you don't have to be there for the weekend. In other words, you don't have to kind of
sit
sit
there
at
on.
your computer the entire day. The app will, if somebody comes by and they have a question or they want to make a purchase or they purchase, it'll all be taken care of by the app. There is I have either Monday or Tuesday. I'm going to set mine up. Where is the email? Here it is. It's the 13th Comic Art Live this May, the 16th and the 17th. One of the things they mentioned down here, yeah, is to get, they have Comic Art Fan. You can join them by paying a premium membership at $75 for the year.
Mhm.
And the one thing that Kazra said in our last town hall meeting for IC3 is that you can hone your tags, which I totally want to hone in on the, Sword and Sorcery, Conan the Barbarian, Red Sonja, King Cole, all the faves that I'm privy to because of Crom being Conan adjacent. So that I think is pretty thing. But then it allows early access and to the public. So it is. Oh, and then the other thing is I want to know more about it. They had the drawing, blind drawings, blind commissions. Is that what he called it?
Yeah,
Where,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah, where you can and I think it's all the same, like cost amount, but I don't know if you get to choose the character. I know the commissioner doesn't get to choose you because it's blind. So that's why I want to have a better understanding of the tagging, because that's really what it's all about. People are collecting what they like. They're not collecting comic book art. You know what I mean? It's the same thing as like they're not buying comics. Like every comic that comes out, I gotta own because it's a comic book. It's not happening like that. People have their either it's science fiction or it's fantasy or sword and sorcery or it's Marvel, DC, Star Wars, Wolverine. They have their things that they're very connected to, and they want more of it, and they're willing to take a chance on new people / unknown artists. So
yeah, there and I think there's never been enough there's never been enough emphasis to comic creators, especially self-publishing comic creators, indie creators, on a pipeline to sell your original art in order to fund your printing and your production of your comics.
yeah,
Or maybe you're a writer that is hiring somebody, or a publisher that's hiring an artist. If you can get that original art, you can sell it back, and so where do you sell it? Where do you get a decent rate for it? This could be that. This could be just kind of like a marketplace for original
it's
art.
it's definitely that. Comic art fan has been around for quite a long time, and that's what they've been growing, and what it grew out of was just the forum part. That's how it started, was just a regular old forum where people were just posting what they had, wanting to share it, like, hey, I own these pages. But then, of course, if somebody was so inclined to be like, holy shit, you've got, all the pages for Conan issue 72, by so and so. Damn, would you consider selling them? Maybe. What is your offer? Or, you had, that person then has, maybe pages that, and becomes trading, and I think that's like that's the excitable part for the collectors, and I think then as I said before, the layer of wanting to, because I have individuals that commission me. A lot of it's what's called recreation stuff, which is what I don't share too much, because I don't want to mix up my algorithms and stuff by posting social media and everything. But I do a lot of, like, I'm doing a ghostwriter Mike Flug cover recreation for one of the people that wants this kind of work. But I've had people I've met, like especially at like Baltimore Comic Con, they come up and they're like, "Hey, I have this like a sketchbook, but like a tome, a really expensive leather bound sketchbook," and they're flipping through it and they're showing all these people, that have contributed to the. This one guy was a big sword and sorcery, so I ended up doing a couple of Red Sonja pieces in color pencil in this book and stuff. So it goes on out there. I think the thing of it is that we, just like I was saying earlier with the community and the Crown the Barbarian and the project, it's community based. The biggest thing I think you need to establish as a player in this group that we're starting to get into is trust. That the trust being that, if I'm going to commission you, are you going to deliver on, the example of works that you've showed and on time and not going to be difficult, or so on and so forth and stuff. So, yeah,
That's an interesting idea, is to have a hardbound sketchbook and get artists to draw in it. I mean,
yep.
it might be a lot of pressure for somebody like, oh, I'm drawing in a
Oh, it
book.
is. Oh, it is. Especially when the page before you is somebody like, I think it was can't remember. It was
Adam
somebody like
Hughes
Sal
or something.
Buscema. It was like either a Sal Buscema or it was somebody. I was like, damn, that page is right there. You know, I'm like, well, I'm not going to use any water media. I'm going to stay all color pencil, you know, with some pen. But yeah, but it's also really exciting to think like, you know, and here's the biggest thing: it got mailed around. So he established everybody in order at this show at at Baltimore Comic Con. I think this was 2016.
Uh-huh.
And then they were like, so and so is gonna, when he finishes, he's gonna email you, and then get your, and then he's gonna FedEx it to you, and then when you're done, you're gonna FedEx it to so and so. Like that's a lot of trust. That's a lot of trust. But
Uh, Hold
you
on, let
okay?
me send another voicemail.
That's a groovy song.
I know every time I hear that, I'm like, hey, that's my ringtone. Um, so I got the Wheel of Death here. I thought I fixed the problem, but maybe not. I gotta force quit and try this again. Nope, not responding. If it's not font book, what is it? Let's try this once again and look in font book.
You're
Do
not
Mac.
restarting. You're not restarting your system. You're just doing that, and then it's just still hanging in the.
Oh, that's a good point. Let's restart the system, shall we? Yeah, I'm just trying to bring in all the text, and then we can play around with what it says. Um, we did publish on Substack this story. Um, I was rescued by the casualties, and that turned into the script that I gave Ken Landgraf. And when what was that? More than a year ago, 2 years ago. It was after the IC3, right? Because during the IC3,
Maybe
it
it
was
was
about a
before.
year ago because we did the IC3 and I got a turbo pinup from Ken.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
then we agreed that he was going to do the 6-pager for the casualties. So I
Yep,
wrote it up and sent it to him.
yep.
All right. So now we're going to test this out to see if this works. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get the text into my clipboard so that once this opens up, I can just paste it in anyway. But the big question, of course, is can we go between programs? This was a big deal when, for all you people that are listening that were born in the 90s when the internet was already there. um or maybe by the time you're a grown up or by the time you're in school, it's already there. But I went online in 1996, and I've been using these computers, these Mac computers, since the 80s. And my first Mac computer was a Mac Plus, which had a floppy disk in it, and you weren't allowed to use more than one program at the same time.
Yeah.
It was kiosk mode where you just like oh, I'm in Photoshop, but now I want to go to Illustrator. I'm gonna have to quit Photoshop. And when Steve
That was
Jobs,
all RAM. That was all RAM issues.
well, yeah, but it was something called leafing, right, or something. And I remember when they allowed that because Steve Jobs um, kind of integrated his next operating system into the next Mac OS. They like fired him, then they brought him back, and everything was changing at a rapid pace by then. So it was like you can have two programs open at once, and you could go back and forth as many times as you want. So yeah, I mean, I hope all these kids today, I call
Oh
you
gosh,
kids,
listen to
I
you.
hope you guys all uh, appreciate the
Yes, Mr. Jacobs.
power that you have to go back and forth between programs. All right, I brought in all of this text now, and obviously this all has to fit in one. Oh my God, look, what is it? So this, it starts here. 5 pages of text, solid. Let's move these pages up like this. Look at all this text. If we were just to print all this text,
It's like
and
4
it's a
pages.
pretty, yeah, it's a pretty small font. It's 12 point type. So what, yeah, so I have to kind of set this up, but now I want to get the picture of Charvel in here. And here's a good question: should we have this graphic of the casualties on the inside front cover? Because that's the lead in to the comic, right?
Correct.
So do we want to show that? Yeah, so maybe we want to show them and Charvel trapped in the bathroom here, like this. And this is our inside front cover. Now we also have to have our indicia on this too. And this is very high res, so I could make this as big as we want. It's placed in at only 10% now of, I don't know why it needed to be that big, but this is going to be where she starts out. Unfortunately, Kurt, I sent this sketch to Mr. Landgraf right here. And as you can see, this is just a teenager who's kind of flat chested,
Kinda.
nothing to speak of. Yeah, just a teenager. So I wasn't like, all right, yeah. And then when we get to page 1, when Landgraf gets back, it's like Bazumba. And that'll be a chuckle for people, I guess.
They're gonna be like, what's going on here? But then they'll
Yeah,
see Ken Landgraf and they'll be like, oh, I see now.
right. But yeah, so we're definitely going to use this here, and I'll use it here on the lower corner. We can make this as big as we want. But yeah, so now I just need to play around and fit this all together. How do I interplay this? Do we want to make this big, like boom? I could make it even bigger. I was gonna have a kind of like a title here, and also remembering we need room for the indicia down at the bottom or up at the top. All these decisions must be made right now. Yeah, so how about if we hug this a little bit up here? And we didn't have an indicia in the teaser, really, right?
No, because it just was a teaser.
Yeah, and we
Because
have
what
all
it
the
does is it goes directly into page 1. We did have this down here. We added moniker, and then story and pencils, Jake Jacob, Kurt Brugel inks, co-story, and then it went into the 2 pages where you got the Doom Mags logo, just some more information, of course, the bullets, and then the back cover, just a kind of a salesy trailer type of thing.
well,
QR
the
code.
indicia has all the information about Doom Mag's
I know.
company and
Yep,
project.
which is still in topic. Like I was saying before, we're basically, financially and business structure, we're 2 entities working on one IP. There's no, let's say, collaborated corporation or LLC or anything governing, what we're doing right now. So, which is fine by the 2 of us, but it's an open discussion for as things prevail. Whether we want to do something with Doom Mags and stuff. I run Crom the Barbarian because he was created by Gardner Francis Fox under my Gardner Francis Fox Library LLC. So, and that's GardnerFrancisFoxLibrary.com. which has all of his 157 um, vintage paperback novels that he wrote, which included Nile the Far Travels, Kothar, Barbarian Swordsman, and Kyric, Warlock Warrior, and his pulp work that have migrated over into translation and modification for some of Crom's background and stuff. So, the indicia. I would just like to say this, and I don't think you're going to have any argument with it, but I do believe that you and I just claim it as, ownership by Kurt Brugel, Jake Jacobs and Kurt Brugel, and, maybe even list our emails, as central points of communication in order to secure permission to reprint or, blah, 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 blah. Is there anything else in addition to other than the time and the number and the volume of the book that you feel should be in the indicia?
How else should have the year, the title, the company.
Yeah. We don't have a company. I mean, I understand that Doom magazines can at some point want to be, but there's no formal Doom mags as a business identity.
Well, if you are a sole proprietor, all you have to do is state your company name. You don't have any trademark, you don't have any copyright, but you can do, sometimes there's a DBA, which is another layer in New York State, of officialdom. But anybody can make any company up out of whole cloth and put it on a comic and publish it and print it.
Right.
And then you have essentially copyrighted it for the purposes of, as long as you're the first one ever to do that and it's being time stamped, if somebody else had that name before, you might come up against them and their claim. And
are you talking about for Turbo Pit Fighter? Like, I mean, that's the bigger part of defense, is that, somebody could come along and say, 12 minutes after we published our comic, that they actually were the ones that first published or, made something in the way of their Turbo Pit Fighter, which seems
if they haven't had it on Google for the last 25 years, I think they're safe.
I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah, I mean, a simple Google search it's the first step. I mean, there's also, like, you can get a trademark, that costs a lot of money, but lawyers will look up officially on official records, whether or not this is true. Otherwise anybody can claim anything. It's all, what does the evidence say? And they took away the need. I mean, when I made comics in the 90s, I don't know if you did this too, but when I made comics in the 90s, I sent a copy to the copyright office.
No, I sent them to me with I would go and buy the newspaper, and you would take the first page of the newspaper and fold it up.
You have the postmark if you don't open it.
And you would then mail yourself a copy of, a manila 8.5 by 11. And then you would write on the back of it, this is the copyrighted material of Kurt Brugel, and this is the contents within. And so then if you went to court, you would then, before a judge or the system itself, it would be open, and then it would be documented that, yes, here's the evidence that on the 13th of August, 1997, Kurt Brugel did create such and such character and blah, 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 blah. And if the person who's coming after you or me can't provide anything other than that, then it's a win, win for me.
Yeah. As long as you don't, well, if you postmark something and you don't open the envelope, you can open it in court.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I used to have I had like 15 or 20 of those things, like, back in the 90s.
I only have one, and I would cringe to open it because it was like early rudimentary
Yeah.
ideas. But yeah, that's what you used to have to do. Now, all you have to do is just prove to a jury that you had it first. So if you put something on Instagram, you could say, oh, I hereby make up the character Captain Cucumber. And it's on, here's a sketch of it, and here it is on Instagram, and it's on the Wayback Machine and whatever, and it's dated here, and that is established. That is enough to establish copyright nowadays. But you could always, there's a million different things that can happen when you're going up against a big company. They could spend you under the table. They could.
Yeah, which, like I said, I'm not worried about the ownership per se in defense. I'm more interested in the indicia just basically stating who you and I are. Okay, I'm going to openly admit another pet peeve I have with comic book creation. And Jake, you've got to admit, from the 80s on, right, maybe even the 70s, how many comics out there have this esoteric indicia other than abiding by like an actual address, a street address in the United States of America, but there's no individual names that are calibrated to the ownership of publishing and printing the book. Now, it might be the artists themselves, but it was almost like people didn't want to be associated with that, so they never gave themselves the credit for being the actual publisher, the person of responsibility to put all this together. And I think it's nonsense to not just put Kurt Brugel on. And I do with my Crown books. It's Crown published under the Gardner Francis Fox Library LLC, but I'm the one that you need to talk to or come and see, or you got to find the heirs to my estate, who then are executors of the Gardner Francis Fox Library, in order to secure whatever rights you want and permission or whatever. And to be honest with you, like even with Fox's work, it's done me very, very well because, I'm talked about a lot out there. And a lot of times, people say I'm a bit difficult because I have a very strict guidelines in republishing Fox's work, with most people don't meet because they just want to reprint this thing.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? Like, so why not just give them direct contact? Okay, here you go. What if you said in the indicia, do magazines comprises of, on the date, 2026, creator, writer, and penciler Jake Jacobs, and co-creator, writer, and inker Kurt Brugel of Doom magazines.
You don't typically see that, but what's the reason for doing that?
I'm just trying to establish all the kind of like the check boxes I would want to see in trying to get in the future some information of who owns this comic book.
Well, you could put your personal contact information. You could say Jake Jacobs and Kurt Brugel in the indicia.
Yeah, I also have a P.O. box for the Francis Fox Library, but I don't want to give that out because you know what I mean? Like, we're not publishing this under the Francis Fox Library. I'm not going to put my address in there.
Right. I mean, sometimes the indicia could say something like send submissions to, we're looking for collaborators, blah, 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 stuff like that. I think we might say that kind of in the end papers, but yeah. So this is where we're up against the wall. We're sending this thing to print pretty soon, and we want to figure out what to say. I mean, we've done this before.
Yeah.
And but this is like a little bit of a different project now. This is going to be the first official floppy coming out from Do Magazines.
Well, when we worked on stuff. It was under your publishing company at that time, which you were running as a business.
Yep, I had a Delaware corporation.
Yeah,
And you know, I had to file corporate taxes every year, which was like the corporate minimum tax. I think it was like $150, and then it went up to like 200 something dollars, and then
yeah.
eventually I said, all right, I don't need a corporation anymore because the
Just saying.
yeah, the comics I put out in the 90s were out of print,
Yeah.
and out of the mainstream. But you know, and I also used the corporation to do my animation production, and you know, I had a list of expenses and I could write off, and I had, you know, regular corporate filing. And so now I'm just a teacher. I just have a W-2. I just spoke to my accountant. You know, you know, I said I'm going to be doing a couple of cons this year. I'm going to be traveling. I'm going to be renting cars. You know, every time I buy comics at a comic store, every time I buy, you know, comic book paper and India ink, you know, should I save these receipts? And he was like, um, his advice was no, not yet. He goes, once you're actually seeing some sales, and you might be, you know, he said you're probably going to just be in a negative as far as tax purposes, but you know, once you actually have some income, he says there's no purpose if there's zero income.
Yeah, you got to show profit and loss. That's the only reason for filing taxes.
Income, right?
Other
And
than if you're going to do the hobby thing. Once
right,
again, we're
but
not
then
accountants. We're not
right, and
accountants. And
yeah, the IRS considers, you know, is this a business or is this a hobby? You know,
correct.
if it's kind of a business that is just making like a tiny little bit of money, you can still get away with calling it a hobby. You know, so everything you show and everything you don't show, you know, it becomes a consideration, you know, and then everyone's worried, oh, am I going to be the unlucky one to get audited, you know, and stuff like that. So, you know, I'm just a teacher and I do comics on the weekend. And when Do Magazine comes out, number one comes out, the sales are not going to be, you know, so much where it would attract a lot of attention. If I have any income to show, you know, I'm not going to be selling these online individually. I might, you know, we might like maybe like give some to a distributor on consignment or whatever, returnable. You could do all these different, you know, models. But in New York, there is a huge problem with selling a comic off a website, because anytime you sell to somebody else in New York, this is the killer. You have to file for each sale within New York what the sales tax rate was for that recipient in a sales tax statement, and itemize that for every single comic. Or if you sell a wristband, or if you sell a scrunchie for 25 cents and it's sold up to Ithaca, you have to say, all right, the sales tax was point zero whatever, and the sales tax rate, and you have to look up the sales tax rate in every county. It's insane, insane. And I made a decision a long time ago. I'm taking my comics off my website because I'm afraid I'm going to get somebody in New York State or a reciprocal state, and I don't want to itemize that. I don't want to do that. You know, it's not worth it to me for the 20 comics I might sell over the whole year. It's not worth it. So, um, you know, you know, that's where I sympathize with some of these businesses that go through all this bureaucratic red tape. And believe it or not, Kurt, New York State businesses, if you have a certain volumes of sales, you're allowed to deduct 10% of your sales tax due to compensate you for the time that it takes to compile all this information. Or at least that's how it was a couple years ago when I last checked into this.
Okay.
Admittedly, it's been quite a while since I
Okay.
did any of this, but you know, the other thing is that, you know, at Comic Cons, you know, because I've known people at record fairs that have gotten busted by a task force because they're like, okay, you know, you look like you're selling hand over fist over here. But now let's look at your filings, for last year, and you know, and sometimes they would do stuff like that. Um, I mean, it's tough because one thing that makes this whole world go around, makes the United States go around, is all of these local street fairs and craft fairs and artist fairs and garage sales and yard sales and everything. And to expect somebody at a yard sale to, oh, I made $200, I got rid of some old tools, right? You probably spent $600 on those tools, right? So number one, it's a loss. But if you didn't itemize the chainsaw and the depreciation since 1988, then you don't have the right to deduct it off your taxes. And it's like a merry-go-round of bureaucratic red tape. So just some interesting things to think about for comic people. There's some of the
Well,
headaches.
but just the real central point of the conversation between you and I, which will be finalized, at some point, obviously when we get the indicia, is the only thing that I want to just express in the indicia is that you and I co-own Turbo Pit Fighter, i.e., if something was to happen to one of us in whatever capacity, the other one holds down the fort per se.
Uh-huh.
It's not some made up entity, it's literally two individuals. Here are the individuals' emails. You can directly get a hold of them, to ask questions and then go from there. And if you want to insert co-owners of Do magazines, I think that's a pretty decent indicia. If you want to fluff it out by saying you can make submissions or blah 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 blah, I doubt anybody is using the indicia to read it to find that they can do submissions to Do magazines and become a player.
Right. Well,
I think it's a little.
If anybody wants to know, where is it? I have something here. Well, let me not talk about it till I can find it in hand. But suffice it to say, my immediate area is getting a little messy. I'm finally like in a happy place here, laying out these zine pages.
Right.
And I'm going to be combining pictures with text. I have 2 pictures for this. I have a space for the indicia here. It's going to say Do Magazines, Do Magazine #1, printed by Do Magazines, and then whatever else. So we're getting somewhere. Finally, I'm gonna work on this after I get off the pod with you, so I can concentrate. But here it is. So here is something. Here's something that I wanted to show you, because I have some handmade comics from my teen years.
Yeah.
I think I was in high school when I did this. I don't know how old I was. I don't know what grade I was. But I did this. I got these cool felt tip pens I was really excited about. And I made this, I was just going page by page. There's no script here. And I was just using these pencils. So I got 2 pages and a cover on this one. And then I did all this other stuff. Like I had this one, and this one goes on for 1, 2 pages, 3 pages, 4, 5. Look at this. 5 pages before I petered out. But the one project I actually finished. This was something I did much later with my brother. These are single panels. These are really funny. Like look at this one. Remember the alimony. Oh wait. Okay. Look. So I drew 2 Mexican guys, and it's remember the alimony, and he goes, "It must be your ex-wife." So we were trying to do like a Far Side thing. This was me with my brother, who had some ideas, and then I would draw them. But I don't know. I like the funny. I like mine better than his for some reason. Like, look at this one. See this? So it
It's,
shows a courtroom, and then there's this guy who has this huge
oh God.
dude sitting on it. Did you read the caption?
Yes. Quack, quack, quack.
Uh, I forgot who wrote this one, but look at this one. Isn't this a cute little book, though?
It's good, man.
I'd venture to say that Billy is making a cry for attention. Um, my this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, yeah. These
Uh,
were popular. These were popular in men's magazines, like not just like your run of the mill
well,
Playboy
yeah,
and
the New
such,
Yorker.
but the whole the like adventure magazines and stuff, and Playboy and that kind of stuff, which they I think that's an art form in itself.
It is. It is. I
One
mean,
point, one page, one line gags that when you see the picture and read the caption, or in vice versa, read the caption, see the picture, this explosion happens inside your head. I just think it's magic.
yeah. So here you got
Oh, wah, wah,
a guy
wah.
on a payphone. Honey, it's me. I think I'm being
I'm
stalked.
stalked.
Um. Anyway. So um. Just in my defense, I was much older when I did this. I was trying to hang up with my brother and do something. But look at this. So this is the first thing I actually finished.
Wow.
Nightmares of Nightmares of Utter Dread, unnumbered.
Wow.
And I had a dream, and I got inspired to
So
comic of it.
I don't want you to spoil too much, because
No, I'm not.
if I remembered, you said you wanted to start reprinting these in Doom magazine anthology, right?
Well, I don't know what to do with this. This is a real
Oh,
interesting
come
piece.
on, man. That's some fun stuff.
Well, what I just wanted to show you real quick is where I was, because I had a dot matrix printer,
Oh,
and
shit. Yeah.
look, it said Doom magazines, comics made
Jeez.
without quality in mind. And then issue number one, as if I was going to draw any others. And I had the name in mind, right? Doom magazines, notes from the editor. I had a page from a friend who contributed also, but so yeah, and then flooding the zone, right? Be on the lookout for other Doom magazines
Oh,
publicly,
there you go.
including Nightmare of Utter Dread, and then Rough House, featuring Captain Bruce, Bear Man, Dr. Oblivion, Sinew Man, and more, handwritten. These were literally just scrawlings. And then these were some of the other characters here, and then, God knows if I could find. I mean, I have a lot of cute stuff like that in a box, like stuff I did. I once redid an Avengers comic in my own style with a flare pen on lined paper, like shit like that. So yeah, Do Magazines has always just been the name I use. It stands for Do Our Own Magazines magazine. So Do Our Own magazines. The M is in the thing. Public, but yeah, we got to figure all this out, because now we're like grown up, and we gotta we gotta think carefully about what we put, because people are gonna be reading this, and you know and what is Doom Magazine? So at this point, Doom Magazines is the name that we're using for Turbo Pit Fighter, for Doom Magazine #1, the End of the World Timeline. There's a Substack, Doom Mags. There's a Twitter, Doom Mags. There's there's an online presence. It's not very big. We don't use it for the YouTube, which is like, that's more like Turbo Pit Fighter. People look up Turbo Pit Fighter for that. But I got doommags.com, and if somebody goes to doommags.com, it goes to a what is it? Not a LinkedIn. It goes to a
Link tree.
Linktree, right? Linktree, and that has all the links to the YouTube, the links to the Substack, the links to Chrome, the links to everything. So this is going to be copyright night. The copyright is option G, right? Yes, it is. Copyright 2026. Wow, here we are. And then whatever else we want to write. And we should put the website here for sure. We should have maybe something as submissions. I don't know. Yeah, we gotta figure the whole thing
I think
out.
you just need to keep it. Yeah, it needs to be very specific to the point. I mean, if you're going to also drag in the YouTube channel, the
Well, that'll all be in the
Substack,
back for
huh?
sure. I said that'll all be in the back for sure,
Right? Yeah.
like it was in the teaser.
But I think it's kind of it's not wise to inflame yourself to a point of hope and dreams that you're going to be some major corporation with all of this intellectual property. I mean, really, at this point, in my POV is Turbo Pit Fighter is it's the overall blanket. Like in marketing, people are only finding us because, oh, you hear about this Turbo Pit Fighter? Oh, you see this Turbo Pit Fighter? What's Turbo Pit Fighter? Everything is coming off of that. Now with Doom Mags, the anthology, I think that does help push us over into, equalizing, putting Doom Mags and Turbo Pit Fighter in kind of the same wheelhouse. But the identifier, I think, is still Turbo Pit Fighter. And so even in that indicia, like I said, calling out the ownership of both Jake Jacobs and Kurt Brugel for Doom Magazine or for Turbo Pit Fighter and Doom Magazine is really the base, plus having both of our emails to contact if you have any questions or request for permission to license or reprint, blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Yeah, we also have to decide if we want to make this kind of like a table of contents on this page too.
It's interesting. Yeah, I have to say that is a very professional thing to do, especially for an anthology. I do it for I did it for Crom Anthology, and the reason I did it was I think it was Dan Snoke, somebody, or Matt King, somebody commented about having a table of contents and kind of pushing you over into like book publishing, like you're kind of even getting a little bit outside of comic books. And I think it also has like a little bit of a separation from comics to then becoming like recognized as a graphic novel, and these are all categories that an ISBN is going, you can categorize yourself for. Like Doom Magazine #1, I don't even think we could, I guess we could catalog it as a magazine, but I don't even know if we really want to, because we would want somebody to specifically search for something and then find us as comic, anthology, independent. But I think this, and I'm going to work on even a better design in having a table of contents going forward for Crom Anthologies. So, but we only have 3 stories. We have next page is a Turbo. No, 4 stories. Next page is a Turbo. Ken Landgraf's Casualties, Alex Turbin, The Duke, and then a 2-pager of Cromita.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, and the reason I put the Landgraf and the Alex Turbin, it's to amplify that they were the artists, the lead artist architects visually on those stories.
Yeah, I mean, we could leave our indicia kind of minimal and include the table of contents info down here as well, because it's the inside front cover and we want to just jump right into the comic.
Right.
Um, so we'll have to see. I'm just trying to see right now how much fits. So I have, for all the prose I wrote for the I Was Rescued by the Casualties by Charvel Vore, it all fits right now up to here. So I have to get all of this down to all of this. And I'm making these boxes a little smaller. They didn't need to be all that big. This one I'm going to keep this size, and then we'll have the indicia here and a little headline here, and that'll be that. Yeah, so I'll work this out after we get off, and hopefully I'll have the inside front cover done by next time we meet. I just got to condense all this into the setup of the story, where page 1 starts. Then I want to do the same thing for the Turbo. I want to do the same thing for the Duke, and then we should have, I think, 2 pages at the end, to just which are here, which is just recreating the zine pages that we had in the first place. And I have an update of the bullet points, and we have some space here for a lot of different photos or a lot of different art. Here down at the bottom at the end, we still have making Turbo Pit Fighter comics and influencing indie creator exchange.
Right. That's good.
I don't know if we want to just keep that all exactly like that, but
yeah.
All right. I mean, we're still putting new episodes of each of those up all the time, right?
Yeah, I'm editing the Tom Chalimi one right now from last week.
So there we go.
And then we have just even do a shout out right now. Corinne Halbert in 2 weeks on the 10th. So for her acid nun, so that's gonna be good. And you have had these interactions with people when going out to these shows, which I think is great. And we'll just get the information and then start contacting people.
Yeah. I'm just checking my calendar. I don't have anything coming up that could interrupt our Sundays, I don't believe.
Yeah, when do you complete with school? That's all June, right?
June 26th.
Oh, okay. So you're literally 2 months away.
Yep.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
And we just took our standardized test for English on Tuesday and Wednesday, and we're gonna have our math on not this Tuesday and Wednesday, but the following, which is May 4th and May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. And then once the testing is over, the school year really devolves into a lot of field trips and a lot of assemblies and a lot of things. There'll still be some classes and report cards, but graduation rehearsal, senior trip, overnight trip to DC, all this kind of stuff. So there is on May. So May 7th, May 10th, we're having Corinne. That is Mother's Day, Sunday, May 10th.
Are you?
My mother's not around.
No, I know that, but you are married to a mother.
My wife is in Florida, so we'll probably just have to send her a bouquet or something. May 17th is the Graphics Con, GRAPHIX Con at the Hilton Midtown in New York City. This is a original art Comic-Con, and it's in person. May 16th and 17th is also the Comic Art Live.
Yes.
So imagine if I'm at two cons at once.
You're a
Um,
crazy kid. You're a
yeah,
crazy kid.
yeah. Nothing else seems to be coming up on Sundays. We have Father's Day, June 21st. We have Flag Day, June 14th. I don't think anybody does anything for that. And yeah, looking forward to July 11th, the IC3 in Jacksonville. So I'll probably be leaving on, well, that's on July 11th, which is a Saturday. So I will be leaving home on July 9th, get to town on the 10th, get all set up, sleep overnight in a hotel, do the con, then sleep overnight in a hotel, and drive back on the 12th. So that Sunday might be an issue, July 12th. Yeah.
Yeah, our summers we always give ourselves some leeway because I have vacation time in the middle of July. So I think we've done some like pre-recorded stuff and then posted it, like a following. Because you have time like throughout the week, we can jump on and do an hour or so episode or whatever we choose to do. We've done in the past, but we are 3 weeks away from our fourth anniversary because that'll be 208 episodes, which is 52 weeks out of 4 years. So, but I actually have a notification that hit me from my Google Calendar that says that we had gotten started with podcasting this week, as a matter of fact. So we are, and that was when we were using like OBS and just like try. I've gone back a couple of times to listen to our first couple of episodes, and they are quite the on the learning curve, as they say.
Yeah, we have been documenting what we've been doing
Yep,
ever since
super
we
proud of
sat
it.
down to start. And Kurt, you know, I'm 25 pages into penciling Turbo Pit Fighter number 2. Can't wait to get back to that.
It
And
sounds like it's going to be happening soon.
what's that?
You're going to be getting back to that real soon.
Yeah, yeah. We just need to put Doom Magazine number 1 to bed.
But we're going to do a proof copy with a couple of printers, I think is what we've discussed, like Mixum, Comic Wellspring, maybe even like, I don't know. Yeah, man, I might even just do one on Lulu just to see what it looks like. And then we'll have like a couple of proof copies where we can kind of just look at them and then, look at how they're laid out from one side, but then on the other side is like, who do we want to do our print run? Let's say the first print run, but then the biggest thing's going to be how do we want to release the book? Do we want to can we sell 100 copies without Kickstarter? Are we going to hire somebody to do a Kickstarter because I'm not going to do it? So, I think we're still in some open air conversations here about how and what and where and when, and we're going to,
Yeah.
make this event official.
I think we should also have another episode with Alex about this.
Oh,
Right?
absolutely.
He's definitely.
Have you seen his random access website?
Is this an upgraded site now?
Yes. So he had the indie comic marketplace, I think was one iteration, and then he is working through I guess a hosting company. Let me bring it up. Random.
I saw a post of his latest cover. I think that's all I saw.
But it would be, I think it's very necessary for us. Ooh, random. I forgot the comics part. For him to come on and give us a lowdown on that. Here we go. Yep, here we are. Randomaccesscomics.com. He has some great titles. I cannot wait until he actually puts the random accesses, the storylines he has into kind of trade paperback. But I know he's very attached to printing his own work, and the others, I think, is what Yeah, because he is it's well, that's Random Access, his anthology, publishing, distribution, printing, and more. So yeah, we're gonna have to get him on. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, maybe he wants to try printing up a copy and just seeing what's, what he.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that'd be fun. I'm
Yep.
sure he would be up for that.
Um, I gotta run upstairs for a second. Okay.
Yep.
Be right back.
Okay. I'm just scratching away here. I just got last week. I ordered while we were online on the show here on Amazon these extra fine tip. Here, I'll even show you the box because it just came. White paint markers. Love these. The Artistro makes an amazing, especially when it comes to the fine line and like keeping and like it's drawing in white is very important to me. And as you've kind of watched me today specifically, um, I try to not think of it. Actually, I do not think of using white in the way of correction. I use it to actually um, draw with. So that is the whole thing. I mean, there's a very specific point. Like those black lines are in there, but I really wanted to get them black. Now I was able to give, those like action lines in there. But, I could go all day, and I'm going to. I'm on page 26. I am definitely going to be next week airbrushing the black space and the white space. And then I have 2 more pages to do this little fine tuning, and then I'm going to make one last, final. This is what it is. These are done now. Um, Other than seeing them in print, that's still something I know Jake and I have had back and forth about, but there's a lot of work that goes into what he does and lettering them and doing some fine tuning himself in there. But it would be nice to kind of get the proof copies and then notice things like, ooh, I could make this lighter with this color pencil, or so on, so on and so forth. So we'll see. I'm just really right now very, very excited, knowing we are very close to completing new magazine anthology number 1, which has the 6 pages. Was it 13 to 18? I will have the inked pages. What is this? Definitely by the end of next month, which is May, in Jake's hands, and he will be lettering to get us to issue number 1 of Turbo Pit Fighter. So that is a huge, huge moment. It's almost kind of scary to have worked for 4 years at something and it actually is starting to come around the corner. And if all goes well, it will be real and alive and out there. So, and then just want to thank all you guys in the chat or hanging with us. How many got people right now? We got 5 people out there. So, as always, feel free to throw something in the chat if you want to point people to who you are and what you're doing. Love that. But Charlie and Daryl, still there. Thank you. Because once Jake gets back, it looks like we're going to start closing up for the day. But I'm like halfway through this page. I'm not going to rush anything, but I went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages are 99% done. 2 of them need the spraying, which I'll do next week. And so I only have 2.5 pages to kind of bring to that last 99. And then, turn them over to the boss. Get them to the boss. This is the Tombow water base dual butt brush pen. N65, which I think is the 70% ink. I keep forgetting if it's the 70 or the 50. I think it's 50. I just love these. I just really love these. So, man, whew, good times, good stuff.
I'm back.
Hey, Gamesmic.
So I still didn't get through my Florida haul, and I kind of interrupted it today to do my fanfare haul, High School of Art and Design fanfare haul. But we'll get back to the Florida haul next week. And yeah, I got a lot of cool dollar comics that I'm sitting on that I'm gonna go over with Kurt. And the other thing, yeah, so I'm dying to get through this so bad. And Kurt, we should probably talk for a second about the lessons that we've learned on our journey so far to make Dune magazine #1.
Woo. Well, let's actually hold off because we're coming up to our 3 hour mark. I think that would make a really good episode, especially once we have books in hand, and we really have, because I was just saying, there's a lot to getting this completed. I know I get very anxious and feel like, oh wow, I've completed all the art pages and I've now consolidated them all in a PDF and I've uploaded them to the comic book printing company and they're going to send them to me and my comic book is going to be done. I'm not a big follower of that tradition anymore. Like I was just saying when you were away, it'll be very interesting to have a couple of samples from different printers on one side, but it'll also have another way of like you and I heartfully reacting to the pages. From like my side of giving the finishing touches. Like, well, that's maybe a little too gray. We've got to pop some more blacks and whites on those panels here and there. Or, the typography and some of the other things like, oh, can we do a little more of this and maybe a little less of that? And then maybe take it through another thing, which, when we do talk about the things that we've learned or the journey that we've just been on for the anthology, which was very whimsical at the start. The ways of us going about future endeavors in a way, the processes, the places where you put so much energy into it, expectation wise, receive it, edit it, just all that progress stuff. I think is going to be really, really interesting and exciting.
Yeah. I mean, my bottom line is going to be like, let's get back to Turbo.
I know, and thank you for putting all that you're putting into what is happening here, because and that is maybe one of the things we're going to have to really look at is a shared editing software, because just based on files, where you and I are both throwing things back and forth, because there's a lot that you're doing all on your own because you have a Quark Express, on a 20-something-year-old laptop that is going to go at some point, which we're going to have to go into a different way of editing the books, which doesn't stop us from having
I think I'm gonna do it all by traditional. I'm just gonna do.
You're gonna do page layouts,
pen and ink,
cutting out, cut and pasting.
Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna
get yourself.
I'm gonna be really upset when my
Hey, I if I had the space, I would 100%. I would, and especially if I could get a what was the camera that would you would shoot at percentages. What's that camera called?
A document camera.
Well, like you would I would have it. You would have an illustration or a photo, and then you would have it shot down to what the size you were going to cut it out and paste it up on. What was that camera?
Oh, yeah, photostat.
Yeah, photostat, a stat camera. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I would love to have a stat camera.
Well, the printer, the laser printer replaced the stat camera.
Oh, I know, I know, I know. I remember, but I remember one of the first jobs I got was working at a local newspaper, and they had their own photostat, and it was so I loved it. I loved
They
coming in,
replaced
and that was
us.
my box, my little bucket was full of like basically just spending the entire night in this room, just doing like 30% shot of this and blah 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 that, and then I'd have to cut it up and then go to the board and paste it in, and I love that. I love that. I love that. I probably love that more than illustrating for the magazine, which was always these stupid little spot illustrations. Like, I mean, not stupid, and I love doing spot illustrations, but just like the non, like, oh, can you draw me a fish smoking a cigarette? It's like, all right, I'll draw you a fish smoking a cigarette.
Kurt, I had some interesting chats with yesterday Philbo and Chris Batista and Joe Esposito. Really, really interesting stuff. The funny thing about the future, about this crazy digital world we live in, is that when we all die, and I brought this up before in other contexts, but when we all die, there's the original art. It might already be sold by the time we die, but probably if we're smart, we sell all of our original art before we die.
I agree.
Just like all the musicians sell all their music before they get too old. Springsteen, Bowie, Dylan, everybody, they're selling their catalog. They're cashing out while you can. So, because if you get caught red-handed, your heir might not care, and your heir might not be able to get the money because they don't have connections, and I don't know how to sell this. I'm going to put it on eBay. Like, oh no, I could get a table at a comic original art fair. Do I know to tell the person that this was a published comic and here's a copy, or am I just going to be, just selling this blind? So it's good to do that, but then besides the whole original art conversation, and the original art conversation is a very exciting conversation because comic artists are artists. We're not just publishers, we're artists, and the original art is the proof of that if there is an original. But then you have the publishing rights, the publishing, and there, the PDF, high-res PDF is going to be the value for generations to come and centuries to come of this valuable high-resolution comic that can be printed and printed and reprinted forever until the end of time. And, the rights to it are owned by the publisher, just like the music, of a song is owned by a publisher. These things are filed, in music and movies, but in comics, it's a little more sketchy. It's good to put stuff on paper, and it's good to have, corporate documents or business documents. It's good to have a record of all that, but all of this stuff gets lost inevitably. I mean, if we're talking about 500 years from now and somebody gives two shits about, wow, look how funny it was when they were predicting the future in Turbo Pit Fighter comics. Like, there's this whole genre of fiction now called speculative fiction. It's taken over like sci-fi. It's called speculative fiction. And what happens to it? Well, obviously it'll be public domain, but who owns the physical PDF, right? Like, who's got it? And if you might have a low res version that's not as good, so these kind of questions are like, all right, is the person that has physical ownership of the PDF, like maybe like 10 years after we're dead, all right, that person can reprint comics and exploit it for money, keep all the money, keep it exclusive, enforce the copyright, all that. 100 years after we're dead, anybody can do that, but who's got the physical PDF to go to a printer? Otherwise, you have to take a printed copy and then scan every page, and then print it. Which will probably be a lot easier in the future. They'll probably have a machine that just you put the comic in and it like has robot arms that flatten it out, spread the page apart, scan it, and do all that. But in the meantime, it's a lot of work for somebody to take every page of a comic and scan it high res and then publish again, and you lose a generation. So all this to say, I think PDFs are the key. And for that, that period after the person dies, but before the copyright expires, it's like decades. There's like 98 years on a published comic, right? So, if let's say me and Kurt are when we're 40, we get up to our 80s, there's still going to be like 60 years where somebody can put out Turbo Pit Fighter comics, whether it's my heir or your heir or whoever. So these PDFs are a very interesting thing, because you could have the PDF all laid out already for the printer, which is nice when it's in printing signatures. The other thing is all right, it's just a page turner PDF, but the printer can figure out easy enough how to print that into a book and compose that. And then who owns the rights to it? So, you can have a PDF and you can give it to somebody. And I've been playing around with the idea of distributing a PDF to a local publisher, local printer, local comic store, that they can print their own copies and they can sell them and keep all the money and everything because they paid for a publisher's PDF, and to the extent that they care and to the extent that they think that they can make money off this, they're buying a license, and how much would you charge for something like that? Maybe you only charge $100, because you want people to print and distribute your stuff and you want to get your name out. Or maybe you charge $5,000 because you're Frank Miller and you know that the person is just going to be able to make money off that for the rest of their life, and you'd like to have $5K in your hand for this old project that you did 15 years ago.
I still think just to add to your speculative conversation, it's distribution. I think I am very weary.
I need more volume, Kurt. Can you speak up onto the mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better up on the mic.
Yeah, sorry, I was just standing a little stretching out a little bit. The distribution of comic books, and I have to say, I watch a lot of technology-driven YouTube channels that are obviously highly associated with AI, but it's not only AI making quote unquote art. I would rather use the term graphic imagery. It is the making of a comic book. Like one of the things that has come up, and it's funny because YouTubers, people who kind of like really base themselves off of their channel, maybe not their livelihood, but the channel is basically the depository of all of the results of what it is that they're learning and they want to share. And so if something is really popular on one and people follow each other, they always do their own version of it. So right now, one of the most popular things that's coming out, and I'm about ready to try to make some time to investigate it, not so much on what they're trying to sell, which is using Google's LM Studio in order to make a comic book. Because all the ones that I've seen, they're basically making what I would refer to more of as a picture book. You know what I mean? Like it's one confined picture to a page, there's some text, and then you flip it. We all live within the glory of sequentiality, that the page itself is one unified graphic, but the fact that we've compartmentalized information and are using the gutter, the leaping space movement, jumping from that, and adding text in order to amplify what is going on and explain, goes from there. My curiosity, I actually, right after I get off here with you, I've been working on the best way I can describe it is, and I've said this about my animation project. It has to do with the keyframe. So, for instance, an example. This is a keyframe right here. Sorry. This panel one of page 26 is a keyframe that would move you into this frame right here, second here. But there's a lot that can happen. And, and a lot that can happen in animation is right now you can't really make these two things. Well, you can, but I think it's not as smooth as focusing in on the keyframe. So in other words, I've been looking at making art for comics that would also easily translate to animation by the keyframe. So whatever it is that I would have in a panel, I would design it to be in frame, but would then build and expand upon it if it was then placed on a page in a comic book. Now, the thing that has me very curious about, let's say, tumbling through this theory of mine and using technology to aid me is the distribution. Like right now, the best place to distribute anything, in my opinion, is YouTube. I've had people, Alex Turbin was actually one of them, but it all happened like right this past week, where I thought it was really weird because I found another piece of standalone software, which can then, you can make your own voices right there on your computer, and you can actually have them talk to each other. And, I'm like, this is perfect. This is one of the things that I need in order to operate, a conversational piece of animation between characters. But Alex Turbin sent me a message, and a couple other people did, about me audio wise, and I add to it flipping through the comic book. That's actually one of the things I'm looking at right now, is to be able to join a YouTube channel, which means pay, in order to read the comic book. And then not read like PDF flipping, but every time you flip, what happens is you would hear sounds and see. And you can go back, Jake, to when there was what was it, multimedia? What was it called again? It was all engageable.
Macromedia interactive.
Yeah, and those, and they would all go on CD-ROMs. I don't think I ever got actually one-on-one emails with Thomas Dolby, but Thomas Dolby was getting into interactive software, and I sent a portfolio to him because I wanted to work with Thomas Dolby. So I just want to, like, the thing that you're doing on your side of our relationship in making comics, like today was an amazing episode to hear that you went to this show and you were able to engage with these people, and that they're excited potentially to come and share even more with us through the community. But I really enjoy the fact that when you go out and react to something, you have your own perspective and possibilities. And then I have the same thing going here. And if we keep doing what we're doing, my greatest hope, to be honest with you, in answering your questions about the PDF and the people and I'm dead and who's the executor and all this kind of stuff, it sits on a website. And it's a website that only has all of the Making Turbo Pit Fighter episodes, because they've been taken down off of YouTube, has all of the animated shorts and the projects that you and I get into or make on our own or what have you, the flipping through the comic books and the added commentary that we can add to them. I have nothing, like I said, but extreme, like, anxious excitement for what is now possible and coming forward. And to be honest with you, Jake, I don't think it's of any surprise that we are connecting again at this time with this technology, because when it gets down to it, our relationship was really the same. It was very much like, hey, here's this piece of software called Flash. What can we do with it? And once we learned it in a weekend at my place with what's his name from Bob, was it Bob Camp or was it
Bob Siska? Yeah.
Yeah. Both of us were like off and running. And once again, this had to, we couldn't call each other all day long and just sit on the phone and stuff because you still had long distance charges and stuff. But when you made a phone call to me, I knew you were dead fucking serious about whatever it is that you were going to do. And it wasn't a conversation. It was like, yeah, go ahead, just send it to me and I'll work on it, And we went from there and just kept rolling. But I just want it to be out there. And if you're listening and you've gotten this far in our episode, I think the most important conversation right now as creatives, no matter who you are, comic book, music, or anything like that, is the destination and the distribution, or the distribution to a destination. I know I am spending as much time as I can to kind of like rationally think through and plan out, because my goal is at 76, if I make it there, I really want to turn the whole thing over to somebody else, and I want it to be one website, and then just feed the website, keep making work for it, or do something else and everything. But I'm pretty much like realistically looking at a 76 like retirement of the financial responsibilities and business decision making and the things that you're saying. Like, I don't have anybody in my world other than my best friend, which I would never place upon him if I died before him in our 80s to have to deal with my shit. I would rather have people that I've had long-standing trust building relationships in comic books themselves, and hopefully be like 20 or 30 years younger than, me, and very anxious to keep moving through what they've become a part of and we've collectively built, to then just turn it over to them. That is my goal.
Well, here's, so we've spoken many times about, I'll put it front and center right here. Where is it? The Q Druids. No,
Right.
Not the Q Druid. No, sorry. I mean, not the Q Druid. The Sentients, Masters of Longevity, Shapers of Reality. So in the future, and so this, obviously this is my story. We make up the Sentients. These are these people that their brain is still alive, but their body is kept alive by cyborg parts and artificial parts. Something that we're seeing more and more of every day. Where people have implanted teeth and fake hips and fake joints and fake knees and fake prosthetic limbs and pacemakers, and the list goes on and on. Well, what's it going to be 50 to 100 years from now? And the Sentients are going to be people that have been around for over 100 years, maybe 150, maybe 200. It's a whole storyline. And I have a lot written about the Sentients. If anybody wants to check it out, go to hellclaw.com/sentience. But in the story, a real question came up as I was sitting with this and thinking about this over time. And this is also for real life, but it's more the future when the technology gets there. Is what's going to happen when we have these Sentients and they're walking around. Now you say, like, all right, let's take somebody rich, like a Rockefeller or Elon Musk would be a good example, right? Here's the kind of guy that once he gets older in his 70s and his 80s, he's going to figure out ways to get his brain thing hooked up and to a bunch of machines, and he's making the humanoid robots. So Elon Musk is going to be alive pretty, I venture to say pretty long, or maybe not him, but some billionaire is going to. There's that other billionaire
Have
guy.
you have you heard about Zuckerberg? Did you hear about
No,
Zuckerberg? What they're
no,
doing
there's this
right
other
now?
guy. It might be Ellison, but one of these billionaires. Tell me about Zuckerberg.
Well, Zuckerberg is having Meta turn him into a AI
Yeah,
that is the boss. So you will at some point, or some if you're employed by Meta, what the lowdown is that there will be a time where there's a switch over. Mark Zuckerberg will still be, the human entity of responsibility of making decisions and everything, but everywhere it comes down to for making these day-to-day decisions will all be done and performed by an AI robot.
yeah. And with that came the announcement this week. If you listen to your AI updates on your smart speaker, like I do, every time I'm cutting something in the kitchen, I say, "What's the news about AI?" Well, I heard about the Disney layoffs, but I also heard that Meta has announced to all of their thousands and thousands of employees that every single action and every single keystroke that they're making, that they do in the course of their job, is going to be recorded and analyzed by AI. And you know what that means, right, Kurt? You know why? I know why Kurt's laughing. It's not funny. And it's not just going to be Meta, it's going to be every other company that's going to do
It's
this too. But
already
Meta's out in front because they're the ones that are developing the technology. This is the technology that is going to, you're going to be basically training your robotic replacement, right? That's why you're laughing, right?
I go ahead, keep going. Yeah.
So Meta right now is capturing everything because when you have, you know, a couple like let's say in real life you're training your replacement, right? So you spend a day with them or maybe a week, and they're a trainee and you're telling them what, no, you don't do it that way, do it that way. No, don't do it that way, do it that way. Well, instead of doing that, the future of that is these learning machine models that have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of hours of recorded interactions. So that as soon as a call comes in and says, hey, how do we reset the server down in Peoria? They well, okay, the person did this, then they did this, then that. We have that recorded and we have it systematized, and now we know exactly what to do because we've been training on this. And if the Meta employees are being observed and analyzed by this big AI for a year, 2 years, 5 years, the AI will know exactly what to do on its own from now on, from that point on, unless a unique situation presents itself, in which case you will still need the humans there, right? And that's going to be good for humans for a while until the AI figures out how to handle new situations, and they probably already are figuring that out as well. But yeah, if I'm a Meta worker and I'm hearing this, my morale just sank, honestly, if I'm being honest. But you know, on the other side, it's not just Meta because they're training every keystroke. They might not tell you this, but every Facebook user that's typing in to Facebook, and you might not even hit post. This is like every keystroke is being recorded, every hover, everything you're doing in their program is being recorded and exploited for them to make money in whatever way they can. And so whenever you're using their product, you're training, some bot to help make more money off you in the future. And if you're working for the company, you're training your own replacement, especially if you're doing something repetitive and lower skilled, as opposed to, the programmers and the coders and the really indispensable guys. So, we're in that age right now where we're just setting up the final, bowling bowling ball pins to drop in a couple of years, where there's just going to be massive layoffs in Facebook and every other tech company that is also training, computers to take over. That's my 2 cents. Kurt, maybe you have
Well,
an
let's
angle.
we're over the 3 hour mark. I do have to get onto some other things I have myself tasked for and prepping for my week ahead. But no, like I said earlier, this is a major episode, and especially for like you coming, I think, closer and closer to what I think I've come to understand, and most importantly appreciate, in being a part of the indie comic creator community. And I think the other thing, I'm hoping that next Sunday I'll at least have had maybe some time on my Comic Art Live account for the May 16th, 17th show online to maybe share and encourage others. But if you're interested, go over to comicartfan.com. I think it's going to be it's going to be somewhere you're going to see this Cal Comic Art Live show. And press the button and kind of just go through and learn more about it, and maybe possibly do it, because I think it's going to be really exciting once Jake and I have cleared this show for both of us to then speak to what our experience was, and maybe upping our game for the next time. But Jake, that's all I have. Let's let these people get back to reading comics, making them if they choose.
Yes, sir. So, folks, you can check out our other channels on our YouTube landing page. We have the Comics That Influence, where we do flip throughs. We just taped a segment of that today. That'll be posted. And we have our indie creator interviews, which we're going to be getting back to in 2 weeks. We had our last one. No, this wasn't our last one. We had Tommy's Meat Market before our last one. Our last one was Tom Cellini, and this was one before. So we're doing indie creator interviews all the time, and those are on our other tab. You can check all of the above out on our YouTube landing page. Just Google Turbo Pit Fighter. Or you can check us out on MAGS. We have a Twitter. We have Substack. Kurt, I totally forgot, but I bookmarked a couple of things on Instagram and Twitter to talk about real things that are actually happening with drones and robots and stuff in real life. So we'll catch up with that next week. If you could remind me. But folks, check us out at 10 o'clock Eastern every Sunday, where we have so much stuff that we'd forget to get to it all. And we'll check you guys out next Sunday. So come on in, and thanks to everybody in the chat today. Daryl was here, and we always have Matt King and Alex that check us out sometimes on replay. Feel free to leave comments. We had Endraven Prime, my first time tuning in. Endraven, if you're listening, feel free to plug your stuff. We have Saboteur, who was there today, and Daryl. So always fun to read the comments. And Kurt was on top of it. He was giving little answers to the comments as we go. But, this is a community, and feel free to put in your 2 cents, especially when we get opinionated. So that's it, Kurt. I'll see you.
I'll see you next Sunday, Jake.
Peace out.